Usually they go nuts.
Yeah.
It's live. It's going. So my shirt
I know. I love it.
means I'm somewhere in between your Uncle Fred and Bill Gates.
There we go.
It's actually a comedian's shirt from when I worked at the Looney Bin. It was a comic. He came through and he had a bit how it's on applications now, how you can put some college. And he did a whole bit about how it's somewhere in the range. That means you're in the range of between Bill Gates and like Uncle Ted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
So
hilarious.
he did a much better joke on it, but yeah, it's one of my favorite shirts to wear. I always get a compliment when I wear it.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, most people just think it's because usually it's the name of the college.
Yeah, so they think it's a
So they just think it's just
thumb.
yeah.
Funny. The thing I've ever gotten the most compliments on from strangers, whenever I got a minivan, I got a little sticker for the back of it that says "Never Say Never" with a little minivan on it. People would like pull up at least once a day, next to me at a red light, and be like, "I love your sticker." And I'm like, "I know, I never thought I'd ever move it.
Never say never.
Never say never."
You know, when I worked for Atlantic, which is a private airport company right here. And they had minivans that you could drive private pilots to and from hotel rooms in. It was a Toyota minivan.
That's what I had.
That thing was so nice.
But the thing about minivans is you get no respect on the road.
What do you
People
mean?
cut you off and will never let you over. People automatically assume that I'm going to drive slow because I'm in a minivan, even if I'm going fast. Because I have a lead foot and a radar detector.
And a radar detector. I know when there's a cop
I
coming.
know if I'm going slow, you need to go slow. But people would never let me over, and so finally we decided to trade out my minivan for a Sequoia.
Toyota Sequoia.
Yeah, everybody lets you over in a Sequoia. They're like, "Oh, you're huge. We better let you over."
That's the big SUV, right? Yeah.
But then I got rear-ended by a 16-year-old. So now I have a Nissan Armada. And that is my car history.
That Nissan Armada is actually pretty nice.
Yeah, it
pretty-
was a rental, so it had high miles, but Nissans drive forever, so that's why.
Yeah. It's actually one of the reasons I like Toyotas, man. She's had numerous Toyotas over the years, and besides the accidents that's happened with them,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, Toyotas are my number one. My
They're
go-to.
great cars.
But I couldn't find a Sequoia in the state at the time with the amount of time insurance gave me. They gave me a week to find a car after they gave me the check.
What?
They totaled my car. They gave me a week to find a car.
So you had to spend that money on a new car within a week?
Mm-hmm. Well, they would only give me the rental car I had.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Before they would take the rental, and I don't want to pay for it.
So did you just buy your rental that you had, or
Yeah.
did you just go to like one of the Hertz places or something?
Oh no, I could not find a Sequoia anywhere in the state of Oklahoma that was like decent. So then I was like, well, what's probably the next best? And then I got on Consumer Reports in Nissan. I'm like, oh, that was my second choice. And there was one close by, and it was in my budget. So.
It's a freaking tank parked out of there. Over there.
It is a tank.
Yeah.
It's a tank.
I remember when you drove up last time to do the first episode you did with me, and I was like, "Damn, that's a big car."
Yeah.
But you have 3 kids, so I love SUVs.
Me too.
I love having an SUV.
Not so much the gas.
Yeah. Well, my SUV's crap. What kind of gas mileage do you get in that thing? I'm assuming
17 on average.
is that
That's what
city
my thing
or
says.
highway?
It's on average 17, so it's probably like 15 city. And
But you're also a lead foot driver, which means you kind of stomp on the gas a bit.
I could be more mindful
Yeah.
because it gives you that little. There's a thing that, and when I first got it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna keep that RP below 2, and I was just gonna. And then I'm like, no.
No.
I don't wanna do that.
Is that an 8-cylinder engine?
So is.
I can just see you at a gas at a stoplight just taking off.
Nobody got time for that.
You don't drive like that in Norman, do you? I heard Norman cops are pretty dicking. Oh, you have a radar detector.
I do.
Never mind.
Well, and like you kind of know where they are and where they're not. You should.
Yeah, Norman is a small town.
Small big town.
True.
For the
Touche.
second biggest.
I'm actually going to be working down there.
Nuh-uh.
I got a job for Riverwind.
Oh, cool.
So, well, we just officially turned into a company.
Oh,
so
that's
we're
amazing.
now I am a CEO now
Mm.
of a small company.
You have like the LLC and everything.
Yeah, well, that's what we just applied for. We just applied for the LLC.
What's
which
your
is
name? It.
On the ball.
I love it.
On the
That
ball.
makes sense.
On the ball
That's the
cleaning
name of your
LLC.
thing. Yeah.
So,
My husband.
well, that's what she named the cleaning
Yeah.
company. So,
It's a good name.
yeah. Your husband what?
We had a LLC for a short time because we had rental property, a rental property,
Mhm.
and our goal was to have more, but it didn't work out. But we named it Gratius, which means thankful in Latin.
Gratius. Yeah. What happened with that? Why'd that fall through?
So the first house my husband built when he worked for Ideal Homes, because they give you a discount when you're in for. Whenever we moved out of that one, we decided to keep it and use a property management company. We also got a discount because they were sister companies.
Mhm.
And keep it as a rental. And it was, we charged just like it was $100 more than what our mortgage was. So it was very little profit that we would just put back into an account for, things that would happen with the rental, things like maintenance and stuff.
Mhm.
And the company did a great job always keeping tenants in it. And then for whatever reason, for 7 straight months, they couldn't find tenants and paying 2 mortgages for 7 months. After the 7th month, we were like, mercy. And so
Yeah.
we sold it. And then we started having kids and they cost a lot of money.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I was actually having a conversation with my last guest last week about this because I had heard a long time ago that having a kid from the age of 0 or the time you get impregnated to the time they turn 18, you spend well over $1 million. He didn't think that number was right, but
No, I do.
yeah,
Well, my kids also have gone to private school.
yeah,
So up
kids are
until,
expensive.
but now there's a parents' choice tax credit that you can apply for, and we got it. So
Yeah.
at least this year, you have to reapply every year. But at
Do,
least this
do
year.
the schools help you with that?
No.
No, you have to figure it out on your own.
Well, I mean, they gave you like a information sheet, and then there was a meeting about it. But the meeting was really just like, here's the link. You have to apply by this date. Depending on your tax bracket, is how much money the state will give you.
Yeah.
But like, as far as like applying and the logistics of that,
Now, is it enough that you get from the state to pay for your kids' education, or do you have to chip in as well?
so because of our tax bracket, they pay for all of it.
That's good.
But if my husband was like a doctor or something,
Yeah.
we probably wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
Get less money.
I mean, honestly, I think they should anyway. I mean, the public education system is crap. I mean, it was crap when I went to school in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was just all about test taking and
Well,
like
yeah.
making sure their numbers look good.
The resources
So-
they give the teachers, and then like standardized testing is not an accurate way to measure a child's abilities
No.
and intelligence. If you test a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it's never going to do well.
Yeah.
And so not taking into account everybody's different learning styles and different types of intelligence, just
It's one of the things.
especially.
Do you know who Tim Kennedy is?
Mhm.
He works with people who do a private school thing down in Texas. They have multiple schools now, from what I understand. But it's one of the things that he was talking about. One of the reasons why he wanted to go that route was because, one, every child learns differently, and every child has different interests. And, if you don't help them pursue those interests, they just fall into that mundane, going to school, blah 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 nonsense.
Mhm. Well, and the nice thing about private school is primarily the parents are super involved and care, and uh, parent interaction and involvement in school, I think, has a big part of children's success.
Or were your kids in public school before?
I
They've
never
always-
in my
they've always
wildest
been-
dreams thought I would send my kids to private school, but
So they from
from
kindergarten
PK,
on,
yeah.
they've been in, okay. Because I was going to be curious if you noticed a difference in them switching.
Well, I have like nieces and nephews who go to public school, and some of them are even older than my kids, and the curriculum that they're going over is light years behind what my kids are doing in private school.
Really?
And like in my kids' private school, they learned cursive in kindergarten. And they expect your cursive in kindergarten to be identical to the example. It's not what you're imagining kindergarten cursive to look like.
Yeah.
And
They
just the
actually make their-
standard they hold the kids to, they don't.
That's it
And
right
then
there.
they rise to that standard.
That's it right there is the standard. The standard of public education is so freaking low. And it seems like it's just getting lower,
It is.
you know? And I think that's an issue.
Yeah.
Especially for the future.
Yeah, if you put low expectations on people, they're gonna not think they can achieve a lot of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And like especially the younger they are, I think the easier it is to like their brains are like sponges. People try to put limitations on kids because they're young. It's like no, that's when they have the biggest ability to really rise to the occasion, build more neural pathways. I mean, like my kids go to a Christian private school, and my son learned an entire book of the Bible and like can recite a whole chapter in Hebrew from memory.
In Hebrew,
In Hebrew.
does he speak two languages?
No, his third grade teacher was really into Hebrew.
Okay.
And was from Europe,
Yeah.
and she taught the whole class a whole chapter in Psalms
In Hebrew.
in Hebrew, and it's beautiful.
And he understands it.
Yeah, because they learned it first in English.
Yeah. Wow.
So he knows what he's saying. But like the way they can just recite these things.
What about the cognitive abilities, the differences that you may see between your kids and their cousins?
Like for problem solving and stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Like do your kids get less frustrated at mundane things as opposed to other children, you know?
yeah,
Does that make sense?
that's a hard question to answer because I think every kid's life experience is different. Like my nieces, for example, Laura's kids, they have grown up being around animals, and their ability to problem solve and think quickly, especially when like an animal is acting out or
Mhm.
getting out of the way or understanding like how things happen and death and stuff, is really cool to watch and listen to, as opposed to my kids who have never really grown up around animals.
Yeah.
And like my nephew, he is an only child and has grown up in a smaller town of public school in Blanchard. So their education system, I feel like, is a little bit different quality than some of the bigger cities.
Mhm.
And growing up around adults a lot because he's an only child, I feel like he carries himself like an older child than what his age is. So that's hard to answer. But
I get your point though.
yeah.
No, absolutely. Like the way me and my older brother grew up was we moved around every few years because of military, and we lived overseas, multiple countries, and then moved here. And then I ended up graduating high school in Florida, but moving around all those times taught me how to, you had to make new friends every few years. So
Adapt.
you have to adapt better. You have to have more confidence in going into a brand new school as opposed to somebody who spent, our younger brother, he spent kindergarten through 12th grade here in Oklahoma. So he didn't have that same exposure. He doesn't have confidence in going into a new situation that me and my older brother do. But we also had to learn that at a young age,
Mhm.
you know. So
But I did, one of my husband's coworkers did send their kids to the same school my kids go to until high school. She gave them the option to go to public school or stay in private. And her son, who's super into sports, chose to go public just for the sake of sports and having more exposure. And then the daughter stayed at private. And when they went to college, the daughter thrived and said college was easier than that school my kids go to. And her son, who went to public, had a much harder time adjusting to college.
Academically?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And like time management wise. And so.
Now, do you?
But I think it's a balance because sometimes
I was going to say,
parents feel like it can be crushing to a kid's spirit if they're more of a like free will, free thinker, and they're put in a really strict recommended, this is how you're going to act, this is what you're going to learn, this is what your expectation. And
yeah.
So it's something that I'm being mindful of and watchful of. I don't want to crush my kid's spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be challenged, but I don't want it to become something to where they're just overly stressed all the time as kids.
Yeah. Neil deGrasse Tyson said that scientists are people who never lost their curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like when you're a kid, the example he gives is a mother and a kid are walking through to their car from the grocery store, and the kid sees a puddle, and mother's instinct is pull him around the puddle, you know, but no, let that kid jump in the puddle, see what happens, you know, and everything. And that's the curiosity. He was like, that's still the curiosity I have as a scientist. You know, I want to see what happens when I jump in that puddle.
Love of learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What did you bring? She brought photos this time, ladies and gentlemen.
Because he talked about me wanting to talk about being a triplet. Like, here's a picture of my mom pregnant with us, not even full term. She's 5'10".
Is this your mother?
Yeah, that's my mom.
Oh my God, Laura looks just like your mama.
She does. I feel bad. You guys can't really see him.
Yeah. Deal with it.
I was the ugliest baby.
You know, big old cheeks.
It was. We looked very similar.
Oh yeah.
As little tiny babies.
A lot of babies look the same.
Yeah, me and Julie were 4 pounds 7 ounces, and Laura was 4 pounds 15. She was a fatty.
Well, she's like 6'7" now.
She's I'll correct him for you, Laura. She is 5'11 3/4. She is not 6 feet tall. If anyone rounds up, she is offended.
Sorry, Laura.
But and Laura and Julie shared a placenta, and I had a different placenta, and they're the same blood type, and both tall and blonde.
Wow.
My dad with all 3 of us. In a triplet stroller.
Oh,
triplet stroller.
How cute.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like this is a good picture that illustrates the chaos that was.
Those are your older brothers?
Yeah.
Which is the one that shoved you in the closet?
This one.
That one?
My he grew up to be.
Look at that sweater he's
like
got
his,
on. I understand why he shoved people in closets.
He grew up to be, his nickname looks like the Hulk. He was massive.
Stocky.
And, yeah.
That's cute. Did you think of any instances that you and your sisters have special connection?
Well, we were talking about how we have such an understanding of each other and can pick up on the slightest little change in our mannerisms.
Subtle cues.
We can,
body language.
yeah, we can tell when one of us is like the slightest upset. And
now, is that when you're together you can tell it, or when you're apart?
So
that's what interests me.
So I will text my sisters randomly, like, just thinking about you, I love you. And my sister said that it's oftentimes when I text her those random texts is when she's feeling the most down and needs it. It's like, oh, I listened to my heart.
My heart.
But and I mean, I can't tell you how many times we meet for our birthday every year and go to lunch and shopping, and my mom watches our kids, and we show up with almost the same outfit on and the same shoes. Or for my son's birthday last year, Laura and Julie both got my son the exact same gift card and the exact same birthday card.
No way.
Yeah. So like, I mean, we think very similarly. We speak really similar. Our sense of humor is really similar. We did a sleepover 2 weeks ago at Julie's house. And it filled my heart so much. She was the best ever. Because I haven't been alone with my sisters for that long a period of time since we were early college years. It's when we all lived at home.
I used to love working with you and your sister at Sonic.
Yeah.
Like y'all are some good people. You always made me laugh. You're always funny to mess with.
Yeah, I feel like all of us kind of have a different jive with each other, and it's kind of ebbed and flow over the years of kind of like sometimes Laura and Julie will be a little closer and hang out more, and then sometimes me and Laura will, sometimes me and Julie will. Laura and I always took our prereqs together for college, and because for a little while she thought she wanted to be a nurse, then whenever she took cadaver lab anatomy, she realized
No.
it wasn't her thing. Dropped out of pre-nursing then, but went OT. But yeah, and then working together. It's always been one of the best things about being a triplet is always having someone I can count on. I've never been alone on any of my scariest days.
Yeah.
First day of school, first day of college, getting shots, first OB appointment. It's terrifying, and we were all together.
Really?
Like, I mean, all the firsts that are a lot of people have to walk out by themselves. I've never had to walk. So
Yeah, it sucks doing stuff by yourself.
so. But then the other side of it, of being constantly compared, because people expect us to be identical when we're three separate eggs.
Yeah.
So people would be like, "Oh, your nose is bigger than hers. Her eyelashes are longer than yours." And
That's
just
because we're not identical, dude.
yeah,
It's fraternal is what
Yeah.
the technical term is, right?
yeah. My mom took Clomid,
Is that
fertility drug.
Oh.
In the late
It works.
80s. Yeah, in the late 80s, Clomid had just come out, and I think they were still tweaking the dosage because there was a set of triplets at every high school in the metro area the year we graduated high school.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Sounds like everybody in the 80s was popping that Clomid.
Yeah. Just like, yeah.
They're dishing it out in all OKC.
Yeah, I guess.
Is that where your parents were?
Hmm.
You're born and raised here, right?
Yeah, Baptist is where we were born.
On Expressway?
Mhm.
Oh, that's where Rich was born.
Yeah.
Integris, Baptist Integris.
Except we were on the news.
Because you're triplets.
Yeah. It's not every day.
Was it the first ones in Oklahoma City born?
I don't know. We were in a triplet club, and I knew a couple other sets.
And
But I don't
that
know
you're
exactly
talking about, like there was one
But I
that
don't know
graduated
where
from.
exactly. Yeah, I don't know where exactly they were born. One lived in Bethany. I feel like the other one's much farther north, like in Edmond, maybe.
Where'd y'all live?
We grew up at 63rd and Rockwell, Wood Lake subdivision.
63rd and up.
Mm-hmm. So pretty
Okay.
small. And it's like between Rockwell
Yeah.
and Lyrewood Lane.
Yeah.
Grew up with
Right-
all
right-
the kids off Lyrewood Lane.
Right across the street from the airport.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Right across from the north end of the
Yeah.
airport, I guess
Yeah,
you
yeah.
would say.
Yeah, I have some wild stories about watching fireworks. Because they would shoot them off from this little parking lot at the airport.
Uh-huh.
And my dad took us one year and we parked, we thought we were being so smart, parking right by where they were shooting them off. And a whole bunch of them tipped over. And it was like freaking war zone. And my dad was like, "Good luck, Jack," and like grabbing us and throwing us in the car. He was like, "I hope that."
Oh, the early 90s when you could park close to fireworks.
Yeah. I'm like, why did they let people do that? There was a bunch of us.
Mm-hmm. The safety rules and regulations were different back then. Pretty sure OSHA didn't exist.
Yeah, and
back
like
then.
the playgrounds, like the burns and the sharp metal.
We went, speaking of playgrounds, we went to, so the house my wife was talking about digging a whole trench in today. That's on the west side of Oberholzer. You know, where they're building those new additions
Yeah.
over there, right next to the turnpike.
Yeah.
Well, she noticed one day when she was leaving there, it's right by the Route 66 park. There's a park over there now.
Oh,
And so we went over there one day just to walk. close to Sunset and whatnot, and they have a baseball, softball field off one side of it. And as we drove by, I was like, that ground looks weird of the actual field. And so whenever we were walking around the park, I walked up to the fence and it is their field, their baseball field, everything. You know how normally it's like a dirt track with
Yeah.
grass and then
Yeah.
a mound? No, it's rubber. Their entire baseball field is that rubber that they put in playgrounds now. I'm like, that's going to really hurt if somebody slides, into base. And I mean, I get it protecting of people, but man, hurting yourself when you jumped off a swing and landed on your face was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, my husband, one of his jobs as a land developer for residential was getting to pick out the playgrounds, and he purposefully picked out playgrounds and the natural areas for kids to play, like little creeks and retention ponds and stuff, where there was a little bit of risk, where they
Not too much, but
yeah,
still.
yeah, like one of the parks that he built in our neighborhood, you have to climb this 20-foot little rock wall to go down the slide.
Oh, okay.
Like that kind of
So
stuff.
there's a little small chance of falling a little bit.
Yeah, there's like legit
Yeah.
holes. Like it's not these little tiny gripper things.
Yeah.
But and then to go down the other side, you have to walk across one of those rope bridges. So
He designs the parks.
he gets to pick out what goes in it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
It's like
I like that he
you
does
get
that.
a magazine
Yeah.
full of park stuff. And for that park specifically, he calls it my throne of lies. Because there's a whole story of why we got it in the first place, because it wasn't supposed to be there.
Throne of lies.
So he gave me the magazine, and he was like, well, since this is the park that wasn't even supposed to exist, you can pick it out.
You got to pick out
Yeah.
how it got set up, huh?
Yeah. Because from day one when we moved into the neighborhood he told me there was never going to be a water amenity like a splash pad or anything like that, or a pool. He said there wasn't money in the budget. The neighborhood required too much dirt work, which sucked up too much money of the budget. There wasn't money left over for an amenity. Only one park was going to be there, and he was already there in the neighborhood on the other side of the neighborhood. So at the time, we got to build a new house every few years on a discount, not like free or anything, but we would just roll the equity. So it was a really neat benefit that they provided. And so every time there was a new model home, I was in there looking at all the stuff to see what I was going to do in the next house. The sales team had no idea who I was. They didn't know I was the land developer's wife. So I was in there one day looking at the new model home, and the sales lady was like, hey, did you hear we're getting a splash pad? And I was like, no. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, that's awesome. Did not even occur to me that I should check with my husband who picks that stuff. I just took it as Bible. I was like, you work for Ideal, you must be telling the truth. And, she was so I told everyone that we were getting before I found out. So I was doing so many play dates with different neighbors, and then that following
We're getting a splash pad, guys.
yeah,
Did you know that?
God, everybody. And then that following Saturday, because happened like earlier in the week. Following Saturday, it was like one of those picture perfect, like American Dream things. It was sunset. All the parents were gathered around the soccer field, staying around talking while all of our kids played together. It was like so sweet. And my husband overheard me tell like 3 moms that were all staying together, hey, guess what, we're getting a splash pad. And he was like, no, we're not. And I was like, oh.
I've told like 80 people.
Yeah, he was like, how many people have you told? And I was like, everybody. And he was so he went to work and was like, boss, so this is what happened. And he was like, oh no. So they worked the budget and figured some stuff out and
You
pulled
got a
$100,000 splash pad / playground. So he was like, here, your throne of lies, you get to pick it up.
See, it does benefit people to tell lies sometimes.
Well, I was like, you didn't teach me a good lesson. And we'd be like, hey guys, we're getting a pool and a clip.
Right? Here, honey, since you lied to everybody, we're getting this now.
What was it? mindfully.
Well, technically, it wasn't your lie because you were
Somebody
told by
else's.
the one lady in the house. Mm-hmm. You're so gullible.
I am so trusting with people.
Oh, you're throwing a lies part. Did they name it that?
No,
That
it
would-
doesn't have a name. I finally
You
got a
should-
street named after me, but
You did?
yeah, in Blanchard. It's called Emily Ray Circle. Emily Ray Circle.
Emily Rice Circle. I like it.
Yeah, I
In
wanted it to
Blanchard.
be Emily's Way, and I wanted to build a house on it.
That's what every wife wants, I think.
Yeah. Before he named a street after me, he named a heifer after me.
The heifer's not bad.
This friend needed to name his heifer, and he was like, Emily. And
Emily.
then he was like, hey, babe, I finally named something after you. That's so great.
Did he present the street name to you like for a birthday or something?
No,
Oh, that would have been
I
cool.
just kept hounding him until he did.
That would have been cool.
Because he named a street after my main name, Linford,
Mhm.
in Stillwater. And then he named
That's actually a good name for a street.
Yeah.
Linford.
it was
Yeah.
very like
Linford Road. Or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
like it fit with the theme because
Mhm.
every neighborhood has a theme usually for the street names. And he named a butterfly garden after his grandpa, and he named a street in my neighborhood after his grandma. It's like, I'm number one. I'm your wife. Where's mine?
You got it now. Yeah. Heifer and a street.
A heifer in a street.
Next is going to be like a high-rise building.
Mm.
Emily Plaza.
Hey, babe, we need to get into commercial residential stuff,
Emily Plaza
not commercial residential.
or Roach. We
development.
could name it Roach Plaza.
Roach.
No, you don't want to name it Roach
No.
Plaza.
Mhm.
What's your middle name? Renee?
Ray,
Ray. I knew it started with an R.
you're good.
Ray Plaza. Ray Plaza.
Yeah, because my
Or you could do it
initials
Earl
were
Plaza.
Earl,
Earl Plaza.
and now it's
E-R.
Earl.
Yeah. Greg used to call you Earl. Hey Earl. Morning Earl.
Everybody called me.
It was a good nickname.
Yeah, it was a very unexpected nickname.
Sonic.
And did you know
Never liked
the
it.
Emily from Sonic, who is why I had to be called Earl, because
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, she was already there and didn't want there to be two Emilys, and then all my nicknames were her nicknames as well. So that's how I got with Earl. She also came to work at the hospital for a short time. She was an ER nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, work again.
Her daughter's super cute.
Oh my goodness, she's adorable.
Her
Like
little
her
blonde.
mini.
Yeah. I saw her a few times years ago. I think I may have sent her a message to be on this podcast. I think.
Hmm.
I don't remember. I've asked so many people. And some people are not. They don't want to do it because they don't want to talk in front of people and put their opinions, which I completely understand. You know, and if somebody says no, I'm just like, cool, whatever. But I forget the people who say no. So I think sometimes I re-ask people.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry, my bad. Sorry, I just forgot. Well, because I delete my text messages. You know,
That's probably good.
Like
just for memories.
if I don't talk to you on a regular basis after, like on my phone, like our conversation about doing a podcast today is no longer on there because the conversation's over. We don't talk on a regular basis, so there's no point in it being there. You know, so it has something to do with. I forgot a brain farted.
It's okay. We were talking about Earl,
Uh-huh.
Greg,
It had something to do
Emily.
with that.
Emily worked at Sonic. You asked Emily.
Yeah. No, it had something to do with the building. So,
Oh, yeah.
oh. So as a consumer, I'm not saying that your husband's company does this. You said he works. What I've noticed as a consumer, just driving around, because I like to just take drives, it seems like the houses that people are building are not great quality anymore. It seems like people break ground, build as fast as they can, and just slang those homes to whoever will buy them.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the home builder. Not every home builder is the same quality for sure. And then I've noticed with different contractors, because I noticed a difference in quality from one house I built from the other with the same home builder, just from the contractors.
Oh, the contractors that they use to actually build it.
But some home builders specifically build homes a certain way, especially with the lot sizes and the materials they use to keep prices down to make their homes more affordable for more people. And then there are like the other end of that where everything's customized out the wazoo, and everything in between.
I'm meaning more specifically these
Like the larger scale home builders.
Yeah, the larger scale home builders that are literally like the ones that I'm talking about that are on the west end of Overholser over here next to the turnpike.
Okay.
Like those houses, you see them break ground, and within 6 months, the entire neighborhood's built. It seems like, and you can kind of just look at them. One, they all look the same, which I don't like that in the neighborhood personally. I don't.
Yeah, they give you, I think you pick your house plan you want, like
Yeah,
what
you have
want the
like
inside
2
to
or
look
3
like,
different
and then you
plans.
get the elevation, which is the outside, and they're getting more. They got more and more different elevations that you could choose from recently, but for the longest time, you really only had 2 elevations to choose from per house. So then you do get that like every other house looks the exact same.
Yeah. I'm personally, as a consumer, I don't like that. But I also was born in the 80s when
houses had a lot of character and
exactly
were very unique.
You're coming off the 60s and 70s with the bright colors and the different shapes and all that stuff. So
yeah, and like with a lot of rock and like heavy wood.
I love the stone look on the outside of houses. I love it.
Me too.
I would love to build a castle. Yes. Like with modern day.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
If I had the money, like get a good 100 acres.
Stone is outrageous.
Sure. Yeah, but with modern day amenities, castle would be awesome.
So legit.
I would have a tower, and that's where we would do my podcast from.
Of course.
Maybe build a moat.
I was just about to say it, and then I was like, I'm glad you did.
We can do a moat.
For sure.
Lower the drawbridge, let her in.
Like having your own bunker. Come here.
That would be a good end of the world thing. You ever seen those houses that watched a documentary about them? They're built like in the middle of the desert, like Nevada, whatever, completely off-grid houses. And the outside of the houses is made from old tires that they jam-pack full of sand. And the way that they design these houses, you don't need AC or heating. The sun,
they're just so efficient.
The sun heats up the ground, which the tires insulate that heat, keeps the house warm. But then the ventilation shafts throughout the house allow for proper airflow. So during the summer, it keeps it cool. Like they're on the inside of them, most of them had plants everywhere growing, like just natural. They're amazing homes. They're really cool.
Like life works out, because whenever I was in high school and college, and I would like there was that show Doomsday Preppers and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, they're so dramatic. And now the older I get, I'm like, oh my goodness, goals. I want that. I want to be self-sufficient and live off the grid, and that sounds lovely.
Yeah, that's one of the things that 2020 taught me.
Oh, especially 2020. It really was an eye opener, I think. For
it made me realize how much I rely on our system. Like the grocery store, for example.
Yes, especially.
Like if the grocery store is out of meat and every other grocery store around it is out of meat, what do I do for me?
Right.
Like I don't. That's why I picked up a bow and started learning how to shoot a bow and everything.
That's awesome.
So I mean, outside of that, like, what happens if our electrical grid fails?
Well, and like, we're overdue for one of the solar flare things.
Yeah, we've been overdue for that for 30 years.
Yeah. And the last time it did it, took out all the, what's that called? Telegraphing.
Morse code?
Yeah, and they were like, that happens.
I mean, it's very possible that could happen.
I know, like, I think it's regardless of like how much of a doomsday prepper you are or not. I think it's wise to have at least 90 days of food at your house.
Absolutely. Which I don't have that.
We just keep a cycle of canned goods, and then we bought those tablets that suck out the oxygen. And we got foil,
Oh,
and you can seal it with a straightener.
wow.
We just bought like a bulk of beans and rice and oatmeal and flour and sugar, and then everything else is
Basic
cans. And then
necessities.
I make sure to buy cans that I'll actually eat, and
Yeah.
I can cycle them out before they expire.
Actually, in the past few years, have steered away from canned stuff.
Well, yeah, it's really not
Yeah.
ideal, but
Yeah, I mean for prepping, that yeah, absolutely. But like for the healthy
everyday
stuff,
consumption, yeah, it's not the healthiest, but
yeah.
it's
Well,
the most convenient source and the cheapest source for
Yeah.
prepping.
I'm also doing things that require more healthier food stuff. So like my runs and things.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
you gotta have quality stuff.
yeah, the proteins and natural greens and all.
Yeah. My sister Julie really helped open my eyes to like the importance of macros and how it can completely change the way your body responds to exercise and just how you feel in general. Because I used to just only track my calories, and it would be mostly crap food. And I just thought since I was staying under a caloric deficit that it was fine.
It's amazing how much different you feel eating real food as opposed to processed food.
Yeah.
Like the difference it makes in your body and your everyday.
Just like general
Routine.
inflammation and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference when you're training for things too.
Oh yeah. And like noticing the difference of like if you decided to have like a soda or something, and
I can
noticing
tell.
that slight difference of like decrease endurance and stuff.
My body can tell when I eat something that's not that great. Like almost immediately after I eat it, my body's like, this don't feel right. This doesn't, no, this isn't going to digest right.
Right? And like how we used to eat when we worked outside.
Oh my God. I used to eat those French toast sticks
Yeah.
all the time.
Like, and every time I would walk through the chicken kitchen, I would grab a tater
Uh-huh.
and I drank a soda constantly.
I used to drink soda.
Hardly ever drink soda.
I don't know if you know who this comedian is, but her name is Miss Pat. She's hilarious. If you should look her up. She's this big black lady who used to sell drugs back in the hood, and she has great stories. Great stories. She's hilarious. I think she's actually been on Joe Rogan podcast before. But Miss Pat, look her up. She's hilarious. She used to come through the loony bin regularly, and one time she was through, was having a conversation. I think I was getting a soda at the time, and I didn't really understand it when this conversation happened because at that point in time I was so used to drinking soda regularly. But when I was getting the soda, she had said something about it not being very good, or like that she didn't drink it. I don't remember. But I had mentioned, I was like, I drink at least a couple sodas every day, whatnot. And she just made the slight comment, not rude or anything, but like, ooh, child, that's not very good. That's not very good for you, you know? And now that I'm at a point where I drink mostly water all the time, she's right.
Well, just like Coke, for example, how it's used to clean battery acid
Uh-huh.
buildup,
That's the big
corrosion,
That's the big
and like
people
blood
forget.
off of the street and
The acidity in
like-
it. Well, I
outrageous amount of sugar.
remember working at Sonic, and one of the soda dudes had come through because something broke up on our soda fountain, and you could see the tubes where the soda came through and whatnot. And I remember him saying, he's like, "Man, that's what your insides look like from drinking soda." And I was like, ugh, ugh. I could just see the tubes going down to my stomach.
What's his name?
Samuel. He thinks he's a small dog. Look at him.
You see my bruise from the ninjutsu.
Did you get beat up?
Yeah. Started
Get thrown
going
around.
to my kids started soccer on Monday night, so I can't go to the Monday night jujitsu class. So I've been going to this early morning 5 a.m. jujitsu class on Mondays. And the coach is a purple belt who's a cop and a blue belt who's he's in the Air Force, and they're both like jacked
Mhm.
and have high expectations for their students. And then it's 4 white belt dudes and me as a blue belt, and I am outweighed by a significant amount by everyone in the class. And they're making me better.
That's the only way to get better.
Yeah.
But you get beat up a little bit.
Yeah, I went to a wedding yesterday.
What happened there? Like, did
I
you
think
get
it
an
was his
elbow?
shoulder. I think it was his shoulder.
Yeah.
And then cracks me. And then I got a good one on my thigh, and then this one's finally going away. It was like a big knot.
I can see. Yeah, that looks like a finger. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was from gripping
Somebody grabbed.
because I'm wearing my gi, so
Yeah.
it happened through a canvas jacket. Pretty sure it was when they were trying to grab. So much fun.
I love how you are so dedicated to it.
Sometimes I feel like, because did I tell you about how I picked up a whole extra 6 hours at work just so I could get off an hour and a half early on Wednesday so I could go to jujitsu.
No, you did not.
So since my oldest was born, he'll be 11 in October, I've only worked Wednesdays and Thursdays at Alaska. And Wednesday night is my jujitsu class at 6. And whenever I was going Monday, Tuesday, but then everybody else was going Wednesday again. And then they would go on Thursday too and learn more. And then by the time I came back on Monday, they had like built on what they had already learned. And it was like, I felt like my progress was being significantly slowed down. So when my youngest started pre-K last year, I was like, hey, boss, got childcare now during the day. What if I worked for 6 hours while she's at school on Tuesdays? And you let me off an hour and a half early on Wednesdays to go to jujitsu. And she's like, deal.
I was gonna say that's a good deal for them.
It was a great deal for her. And we're almost always short staffed on Tuesdays. So
Yeah.
it helped. So
how often do you do jiu-jitsu throughout the week?
Always Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then sometimes I go on Saturdays when I can.
So 3-4 times a week. That's good.
But whenever I was training for my tournament, I was doing it 6 days.
Well, yeah, you've got a tournament coming up.
Yeah.
To be able to do it without thinking.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's helped your awareness in situations?
Oh, it helps with so much.
Because like one of the things that I took away from the jiu-jitsu that I've learned was how to stay calm when you're in a position where you think your body's freaking out. That was the best thing that I took from anything that I learned. And I remember getting into it with the bartender at the Lonely Bed one night. His name's Jay. But I had kind of rushed him and he kind of wrapped me up like in a headlock, but not quite in a full headlock. He had his arm wrapped around like my head right here. But at first I was like, wait a second, he doesn't have shit on me. I'm like, hang on, let me just do this and do this. And got him right off of me, you know? And I remember that moment just because normally before I had taken any jujitsu whatsoever, in a fight situation, I would freak out more. But being in the classes and rolling with people that were far better than I was, you know, they would get me in positions, and then I would go to tap out or something. And be like, no, you're not. Calm down. Like, take a breath. Realize that you're not gonna die.
Yeah.
That was the number one thing. There's just take a deep breath and realize that you're not gonna die. You are okay. You're in an uncomfortable position, but you're okay.
And like learning to regulate your breathing while you're freaking out too.
Yeah.
And then my ability to focus and remember steps. Because during class they go over like a 5 to 10 step thing, and they'll show it twice.
And they're like, all right, go with your partner.
Go do it.
Yeah.
And whenever I first started, I'd be like, I hope my partner remembers that. And now I'm like, boom, 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 got it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like at work, people will tell me to do something, I'm like, got it, or a phone number, got it. Like,
I see what you mean though. It's like the steps. Yeah.
your ability to choose where you put your focus and actually remember it.
Mhm.
It really is a real thing. They there's a preliminary study they've done that from getting choked over and over again. It's preventing Alzheimer's and improving blood flow to people's brains because your body is adapting
Yeah.
to getting choked over.
Some jujitsu is great for lots of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. It really is. Sometimes I do think about like I'm starting to get arthritis in this knuckle. I'm like just for the long term.
It is wear and tear on the body.
It is.
It is for sure. A lot of strenuous activity.
I'm thankful that my gym will push you and challenge you and encourage you if you're wanting to compete and really like improve. But then there's a lot of people who are hobbyists who are like, I've got a day job, I've got kids, I'm doing this for fun. And they're like, that's great. We can match that energy too.
I think most people do it just out of the not to get better, but to just be better in everyday life. Because I mean, any strenuous activity like my run makes me better in my everyday life. Because when I wake up and I go for a 6 to 10 mile run, almost after my first cup of coffee in the morning, like the rest of my day is so much easier.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So much easier.
Like, although my Monday morning jujitsu class is my hardest, it's my favorite one because whenever I'm leaving that class and I'm just like, oh, you're so mentally and physically exhausted. And then I'm drinking my ice water in the cool morning air and I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be a great day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing what it does for your mentality.
For sure.
I love it. Can you think of a time before your jujitsu that you didn't have that feeling you were just talking about, like when you leave Monday morning, you're like, oh, it's gonna be a great day. Blah. Basically, can you think of a time where you struggled mentally that you can recall?
Yeah. I remember before I started doing jujitsu and really investing in my health with taking my exercise seriously, because it used to be a very random thing.
Mhm.
I was constantly tired and my self-talk was bad. And I just like always felt like crap and wanted to take naps all the time. And waking up early for anything was like the worst. And once you really start investing in yourself and instead of being like, I have to get up and run, I get to get up and run. And people be like, I don't know why you're exercising on your lunch break. I'm rather doing eating and relaxing on my lunch break. And I'm like, this is what, like, I have so much more energy and have so much better of an attitude for my afternoon than sitting filling up my belly full of carbs. I mean, I still eat. I just like inhale it in like 5 minutes and it's my veggies and my meat. Some fruit for some energy.
I love fruit.
Yeah.
I love it. Keeps me regular in the bathroom too. Like in the mornings, I take care of my business in the mornings and I'm good.
Yeah.
For the entire day.
It's important.
It is. Because there's a lot of people out there that are full of shit.
Well, and then stress slows down digestion, and a lot of people who have chronic stress are not going to the bathroom.
I had a guy try to tell me one day. So the last job I worked at, I was waiting tables in Bricktown. He was a manager, and he had the mentality like he was I'd say he was in his early 30s. I don't know his exact age, but he was overweight. Um, he would usually close the restaurant, which means he wouldn't get there till 3 or so. Um, and when he would get there at 3, it looked like he just woke up. And when he would get off work, he would talk about going home playing video games until however late into the morning. Always 8, whatever. And one day I was talking about pooping. And I was talking about how I go in the mornings. That's it. And he tried to tell me that that was unhealthy. And I should have just looked at him and be like, bro, you're not going to sit there and tell me what's healthy and what's not, but that kind of would have been a dick move. But I was like, no, man, because he was trying to tell me that pooping 3 times a day throughout the day was what the healthy option. I was like, maybe that's for you and the way you live your life. Maybe that's how your system works. But for me, I was like, you've seen how I eat here, dude. Like, you see the lunch that I eat every single day. Like, I found a diet that works for me, works great for me, and that keeps my body regular. Like, this is healthy. What you do is not. Like,
There, some people do say the most efficient system will have bowel movements after every time you eat.
periodically throughout the day.
But if your stomach is also not doing well and not being able to like get enough nutrients and handle the food you're eating, then your body will get rid of it also. So
Yeah.
going frequently isn't necessarily a sign of
Yeah.
health.
Well, see, I mean, my point in that conversation with him that day was like, the healthier foods, these are the foods that my body needs. So when I'm eating them, my body's digesting them and absorbing them and taking them in and where they need to go to the muscle, whatever. I was like, that's why I don't poop like you poop, because I don't have all the excess inside of me. Like, that's why you poop like that, dude.
Yeah, because his body's probably like, we can't do anything with this. Let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's definitely not the sign of health. It's really more.
Yeah.
Not tolerating what he's eating.
I just thought that was funny that he. So I just really wanted to look at him and be like, "Are you really giving me a lecture on what's healthy, dude? Come on, man."
Well, it's so funny how people want to pick and choose what they think is healthy and what is not. Like, there's so many people who are. I don't want to get too political, but there's a lot of people who have very strong opinions on certain things, whether it's vaccines or masks in either direction, but then are also just fine eating crap and being on their phone constantly and not exercising. And
Yeah.
it's just like, well, are we for health or not? It's just funny.
Did you ever by chance see the video that came out I want to say it was 2021, but I want to say it was on TikTok, but it was literally overweight people talking about how the real healthy way to eat is to eat whatever you want when you want. And they were talking about eating donuts, cereal, and processed foods, Twinkies, ding dongs, and it was being touted as this. I wish I remember who put it out. I want to say it had something to do with like actual upper levels of health organizations put this out. And but it was just I remember watching it and just thinking like, are y'all really believe this? You think that someone waking up and eating 4 donuts for breakfast is the healthier option? Like, that is terrible message to give to people.
I'm all about like body positivity and like I don't think there's a cookie cutter picture of what beauty is.
Absolutely.
And health can look a lot of different ways for a whole bit different cultures and body types. But when people are way too overweight, like are the people who were getting the most cytokine storms, who are sending them into respiratory failure with COVID, were primarily people who, because those cytokine storms are I'm blanking on the cells that are stored in our fat cells or adipose tissue is where it's stored. The higher percentage of body fat you have, the more likely you are to have a cytokine storm.
Okay.
Have a bad problem with COVID.
Now, what is a cytokine storm?
It's a part of your immune system that is like an overreaction that can fill your lungs with too much fluid and mucus and like constrict your blood vessels.
So like it's a, hey, your immune system thinks that there's something wrong and it tries to overcorrect
yeah,
in this part
it's
of
like
your
an overcorrection.
body.
Yeah, it like is an overreaction where it sends your body, instead of like going to the lungs to heal the virus or to kill the virus, it's going there and filling your lungs with fluid and mucus.
Because it thinks that's what it needs for some reason. Wow. That's typically with people who are obese,
Yeah, I have
overweight, not
I have-
overweight,
I have
obese.
a whole thing, notes, things saved on my phone. I could look it up for
What was that?
I don't want to miss all.
It's okay. I give people advice on here all the time, and I'm just
Yeah, I was like, this isn't
ex-alcoholic.
official medical advice.
Yeah.
And everybody.
If you're listening to old Drazi Poo for medical advice, you turned on the wrong channel.
Okay, so obese people can process antibodies and are more likely to have symptomatic COVID infection. And the obesity risk of SARS-CoV cytokine storm, the interleukin 6 cytokine is produced in human fat. That's what that was.
Okay.
That I was trying to remember.
That's what you mean by when the bigger you are, the more likely you are to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's produced.
I want to say during COVID and whatnot, the majority of the people who died were people who had like 3 or 4 comorbidities, which leads one to believe that a lot of the people who passed away from COVID had pre-existing unhealthy conditions that they lived their life by. You know, so that was one of the things. That was one of the ways me and Rachel decided not to take the vaccine. Is because we were living our lives in such a way where we didn't feel that we
Risk
needed it.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we eat healthy. We regularly intake vitamin C, vitamin D, all the healthy stuff that you need to operate your body correctly. And it was when the lockdowns happened is when this part of my health journey really began. Because that was when I put down the cigarettes for the last time.
Oh, there you go.
So I couldn't hide it from my wife anymore. I was keeping a pack in my office desk. The old, I'll smoke 1 or 2 at work. She won't tell.
Yeah.
She won't be able to tell,
Yeah.
And but when I started working from home, I couldn't.
Yeah.
So that's when I quit smoking. That happened, and that's when this part of this health journey really started to take shape. But that was a major part of our decision not to take the vaccine. Was like, we don't smoke. I don't drink anymore. Like, we eat healthy. We're active.
Healthy weight.
Yeah, like it's not. And then the way they touted the vaccine as if like it was. Because I remember watching, like there was nothing to do during the lockdowns but watch TV.
In the research they did, like how they got that 97% efficacy words. I can't say them today. Was a research study they did on people who were already self-quarantining. So of course you're gonna not get COVID if you're quarantining. Yeah. And yeah, it's wild. And like the 6 foot thing wasn't even a real thing. There's no scientific data.
No, because when you sneeze, your sneeze goes 20 fucking feet.
Yeah.
Like you sneeze at such a high rate
to see if people would really do it.
Yeah. We all did. I was in a place the other day that had a sign that says, "Please respect social distancing." Still, I don't know if it's still up from 2020 or whatnot, but they still had it up. Like those stickers on the ground that people put.
Mail place in Norman. It still says, "Please wear a mask if you come in."
Yeah, not doing it. one, I have a beard, so the mask was not going to seal on my face anyway. So
Well, like literally the only mask that works and does anything is an N95. Anything outside of an N95 is a joke. It's literally just false security.
it is.
There's no point.
It's really a signal, virtue signal.
Exactly.
Is what it's called. I
That's
believe.
exactly.
Hey man, I'm cool. Don't worry about me. I'm all right, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm cool. You know, I go with the system. I do what everybody else does.
I don't think for myself.
Well, I think I remember asking somebody during COVID. We were out eating, and we asked somebody what they thought about masks. I just because I'm just always curious to have other people's inputs because I love like it's why I like doing this. I like having these conversations because other people's perspectives are so important.
Yeah.
You know, we all live on this little planet together. Like we can't escape.
Oh yeah.
We're not Elon Musk.
Oh yeah. We can. There's always something to learn from somebody else.
Yeah. But we asked him. I asked him what he thought about the mass and everything, and his response was like the typical, "Oh, I trust the science." But who's giving you the science? Like I didn't go further into it because I wasn't trying to be rude.
Right.
You know, I was just curious what his opinions were. But I trust the science was his answer. You know, for the most part, and it's just like, but where are you getting your science from? Like, who told you that?
Yeah. Well, it's so disappointing now that like even the people who are supposed to be the highest standard, like the CDC and the WHO, can't even be trusted. Who have blatantly gone back and forth to what suits their agenda on what the rules are, and so many of the things they put out that they force on people, oh, they're like, oh yeah, there's actually no scientific data, we just made it up. Like if they can't be trusted, no one can be trusted.
And they can't be held liable for any of the side effects of the vaccines that they pushed on everybody for 80 years or something. All these people are dead.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, like in
Who-
most medications, when they get a black box warning, if it's not very many people who have to die for them to be like, we're taking off the market. We're not going to get this out. The COVID vaccine alone should have gotten a black box warning and been taken away
what
the
was
first
the
week it was
what was
put
the,
out.
what was the one that they quit making because it was messing? Because there was Pfizer, there was Johnson and Johnson, and Moderna. I think it was the three major companies that put out vaccines.
Mhm.
And one of them, I want to say it was the Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah, that was the one.
That was the one.
DNA,
Yeah, that was the one that
the
got.
one shot one.
Yeah,
One
that
definitely
was
had the worst.
that was the one that got pulled because people were having really bad side effects to it.
Well, in the spike protein that you got from a COVID vaccine, which is what the virus was, how it attached to your cells, is so much larger of a dose than what you get when you actually get the COVID virus. And then depending on how much exposure you get will depend on how much of a dose of the virus you get
Yeah,
too, which is like the only little bit of a mask benefit is it could reduce the amount of exposure. It's not going to keep you from getting exposed, but it could reduce the amount of exposure you're going to get.
that's one of the things I was going to say earlier. It's like I remember watching the news over those lockdown times, and I just remember them going from, oh, it's 100% efficacy, and then, oh, now it's 90. Oh, now it's 85.
Oh.
Now it's 82. Well, now it's 30.
And now you
And-
know what? It doesn't even keep you from getting it, and it doesn't decrease the severity either.
No, it might
It was
help
so-
you, I
it
think
was-
is what they say
Yeah,
now.
it was so funny how it, like being a healthcare worker, I had to get it.
You had to. You're required to.
I wanted to keep my job.
See, that was another thing that I disagreed with about that time was like, how can you force somebody to do one? My medical stuff is none of your business as a company. Like what I do like my vaccines and whatnot. Like,
Well, they
it's not,
viewed it as a risk to the patients, and especially
I understand,
like
I understand that, but
it's still
in
not
your
like
particular
this is
field,
America, though.
but in your particular field, before they had the vaccines, you guys had already been dealing with COVID patients. So most likely you had already contracted it and passed it at one point in time because you guys were in and out of hospital room back and forth. You know, like,
Yeah, it was a while.
was there any like upheaval of your
A
coworkers?
a lot of my coworkers left.
Because I had heard one that there was a huge drop. Like I didn't see it. I didn't know anybody in the nursing field at the time, but I had heard from watching TV and YouTube and whatnot that one, the healthcare industry lost a lot of people from doctors to nurses because of
Yeah, a
the
lot of
requirement.
people. But then eventually they just made a rule if you chose not to take the vaccine, you had to wear an N95 mask every day you came to work, even when they started taking away masks. Or everyone else got to wear surgical masks, but you had to wear an N95 mask if you were unvaccinated. So it was like a walking, like, I'm unvaccinated, I'm different kind of thing.
So messed up. It reminds me.
But then they just kept taking away those restrictions, and now it's like
It's almost like nobody gives a shit anymore.
it was well because everything was so fear driven. Everybody made all of those decisions based out of fear.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember having a panic attack driving to the grocery store during 2020. I would go to Crest at like 4 in the morning because I would try to go when nobody was there, and I had my mask on, and I was terrified out of my mind because the way they news fear mongered all of us. It felt like he was just coming in on you and you were going to die for sure.
It
It was-
literally felt like there was an invisible killer right outside your door.
Yeah.
Like that's what it felt like. It really did.
It was like we all had psychosis.
And we all fucking fell for it.
We sure did.
I always kind of thought like my conspiratorial mind.
Oh, I know it's easy to go down that.
Yeah, I know.
So,
But I mean, just watching it unfold and watching everything happen. Like even Walmart, they for a while there they had a time frame where only elderly people could come in and shop early, like from 6 to 8.
and then for a little while
something
they
like
tried to restrict how many people were allowed in the building, and they had
Yeah.
someone
I remember
counting.
that. I remember
That
that.
didn't last very long.
No, it didn't. It's Walmart, bro. But
Sorry.
sidetracked.
Even Walmart tried to limit where only old people could shop for a little while.
Yeah, that's not where I was going with that. It'll come back to me. I was having a conversation with somebody. I was doing a podcast with somebody one day, and I brain farted on something, and I didn't think about it. I didn't think of what I was trying to say for like a week and a half later. Until like a week and a half later, and when I thought about it, I texted him. I was like, "Hey, man, this is what I was trying to say."
That's funny.
By the way.
Stuff like that happens to me all the time.
Oh man, it's funny how your brain works. Do you know what that is?
You?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Tell me.
I learned it a long time ago. It's your neurons firing.
Yeah.
It gets crossed.
Synapses.
Like your synapses, they get
Yeah.
crossed in there and it gets like obliterated. Your thought.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what a brain fart is.
Yeah.
Like your synapses, they just two ran into each other, two thoughts or something.
Yeah.
And it's just, never mind, we're not thinking about nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
It's really wild.
the brain is amazing.
It really is.
I think, like, why don't our leaders do what's best for the country?
Because they all have an agenda and they're all getting paid by somebody.
I know that's the simple answer. But at the end of the day, it's like I was telling somebody one day, I was like, we need a leader who gets us back on the right path. We need somebody. I know this is a dream for most people, but I also truly believe that it's never too late to change. I mean, fucking look at me, you know.
Yeah.
But we need, I think, we're gonna get into politics.
Sorry, I'm ready.
I got your big European.
Yeah.
um, I'll use presidency as an example. Since we have an election coming up, we need a president that is not bought and paid for, that gets in the White House, and instead of once he gets in the White House, instead of thinking about his reelection in 4 years and making sure that he passes things to make sure that he gets reelected, we need somebody who spends that 4 years doing things because it's the right thing to do.
Just a genuinely good person.
Yeah, that's just a genuinely good person and is there to make positive change for the country as a whole. Because our leadership that we have now doesn't make decisions for the country as a whole. It makes decisions for corporations as a whole, or its biggest donor as a whole, and whatnot. And you know, if you could just find somebody that is a genuine person that somebody just send you an article.
Yeah. My friend Julie, who you're going to interview
Yeah.
next.
Yeah, not next week.
Sure.
She's I think the end of the month.
Oh, okay.
I think she's the end of the month, the 30th or something like that. But like uses that 4 years to pass and enact things that make this country a better place to live for everybody, immigrants and citizens. They'll get fucking reelected. Like let your work ethic and your work and everything that
That'd
you
be
pass
nice.
be your resume for your reelection in 4 years. Hey guys, I know in 2 years into my presidency that I didn't start touting how I was going to be reelected, but I'm going for a second term, and here's what I did in this term. Blah blah blah.
Right.
I'm so tired of the bullies that lead our country right now, because that's all they do is they talk shit about each other.
It's just like Congress. If you look at
Go ahead.
like how many Congress people aren't have been through bankruptcy and aren't even allowed to have a credit card, and how many of them have been convicted of domestic violence and DUIs, and it's outrageous.
I don't know how many of them.
It's wild, and then how they get paid even after they're not on Congress anymore.
And how they're worth millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Getting also paid by all these people. It's disappointing.
It's very disappointing.
How
It's like, how did we get here?
everything.
How did we get here?
I really want someone to come in and just be like,
Can the president fire everybody?
I have no idea. My husband's really good with politics and all that. He would know.
I don't think that the president can fire
I don't
an
think
elected
I'm
official.
sure they can't.
I don't
They
think.
can't have that much power.
But see, that's what bugs me the most is that people fall for this bullshit. Like, I'll use Kamala Harris as an example. I'll even use Trump as an example. Both of them, so nobody gets butthurt. Trump said that he's going to make it to where you don't tax tips, right? Well, you as the president can't just do that.
Right.
Like you have to. That's why we have the checks and balances of our government, the three different judiciaries. Judiciaries, isn't that right? Branches. What three different branches? And so you can't just say those things. Like you can't just say that. And most recently, Kamala Harris's commercial says that she's going to work for in America where you only have to work one job to make a decent living in this country. Like, and then she goes on to say other things that she wants to do, but it's like, hold up, let's back up a minute. How are you going to do that? Like, are you just going to come in and cut inflation? Like, no more inflation. Gas prices are going to be dropped by $2.
Yeah,
Like, you can't just do
because
that.
it all has a ripple effect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like, I'm so tired of this nonsense that everybody says that they're going to do to get elected. And then everybody just buys into that bullshit, whether it's because they're a party loyalist or they truly believe it. And none of it ever gets done. I mean, look at Barack Obama and all the change that he talked about. And we were in the Afghanistan war, nothing changed. Like,
Except like plummeting healthcare quality, and all of a sudden, all of the big healthcare companies have monopolized everything. And there used to be a lot more individual
oh, health insurance.
insurance
Health
companies,
insurance
and
is
now it's
fucking
just the
scam.
big ones.
Health
and
insurance
they're
is
all
such crap.
get to tell doctors what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do.
I hate going to the doctor. I absolutely hate it because I have not seen a doctor as an adult that is a genuine. Well, that's not true. My wife's old doctor, who's now passed away, he was an old school doctor. You know, the type that, what's your stress level like? What do you eat? You know, like how much do you exercise? Kind of doctor. But now, like when you go see a doctor, you can maybe spend 5 minutes with him, and I tell him what I need. Like I'm like, hey man, I got this going on. You have a sinus infection. I need some antibiotics and around steroids. Like that's what I go to the doctor for, to tell him what I need him to write me a fucking prescription. Because they're just drug dealers with a degree now.
Well, I work closely with a lot of different cardiologists specifically, and I've heard them all voice the frustration of like how they feel like their hands are tied, and how even just the patient coming after them, if they don't think they were tested thoroughly enough, so they're having to order all these extra tests they don't actually need and to cover their butt. But I have a primary care doctor in Norman who I adore, who is everything a doctor should be. And he's a DO, which I appreciate. So then
What's a DO?
so there's MDs and DOs, doctor of, just blanked. I feel like it's doctor of.
That's watch.
Oh, I know. I just blanked on what the O stands for. It's like natural, more
It's not
natural.
orthopedics. It's not
No, it's
osteo.
like if you go see a
Nice.
doctor, they're always a DO or an MD, and MD primarily tends to be more pharmacologically.
Which is what most doctors are.
Yes, and then DOs, they learn about natural methods that were used to be the main type of
Mhm.
medicine, and then they learn about medications too. But
Well, 'cause
they're
I'm not-
also heavily educated on the natural.
I'm not saying that there's no place for medication. Like
Yeah, there
medication
absolutely is in
absolutely
certain
helps people.
times.
Yeah,
But where everybody's over medicated.
yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I went and saw my mom when I left a few months ago. Stayed out at her house for a few weeks, and her counter in her kitchen, a whole corner of it, between her and her boyfriend, who are 65 and closer to 70,
Mhm.
like there was 50 medicine bottles there of different stuff that they have to take. Now, granted, they probably need a lot of that because of the way that they've lived their life and unhealthy and unathletic and crap that we've eaten since the 60s and 70s. I'm sure that they probably need those things, but like that's not how retirement's supposed to be.
Well, I think as a whole, society, especially the older generations, are really uninformed on the dangers of different lifestyles and the importance of different foods. And there are so many people who genuinely believe that, like, a box dinner, just because it has some veggies in it, is healthy food. And like whenever I did home health, I had a patient's son who was cooking for his diabetic mother, and he genuinely thought noodles with just butter on it was a health food, like a healthy dinner for him to fix his mother. Like people are just, uh, the education on nutrition, just like simple nutrition, like what a carb is and how it's like eating a thing of pasta or white bread is processed in your body just like having a cup of sugar. And people don't understand how you're, and then if you pair that carb with a protein or fat, it's slow, or if that carb is high in fiber, like fruit, then it processes completely different and it gives you slow burning fuel instead of spiking your sugar. And like what happens in your body when your blood sugar spikes, and it makes your blood literally thick like molasses. And but then there's a lot of people who also, not saying like your parents were like this, but who would rather have the lifestyle they want and be medicated.
Well, my mom is very much of the mindset of I'm 65, I'm retired, I'm gonna do what the hell I want, which
Right. And I tell people,
deserve she hey, do it, mom.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
you get to choose the quality of life you have in the future.
Hmm.
And if that's how you want to ride it out, then
That's like one of the things like we were talking about education earlier. Like, why is that not taught in school anymore?
like basic nutrition.
Yeah, just the basics
Mhm.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is that not taught in
Everyone should
school?
have a nutrition class. You know what I learned in my kids' private school? They have a survival skills class.
I want to take it.
I know.
Can I
was
go?
like, this is amazing.
How do I enroll?
Right? It's a middle school class. Have to take it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They may not think it's awesome, but
No, I'm sure they do.
one day when they're an adult and they're in the woods and they gotta build a fire from nothing, they'll be like, hey, I know how to do this.
I was like, I got chills whenever he got up and was like, I teach the survival skills class. And I was like, you what?
Can I take it? Can I come in
Right.
class that day?
Yeah.
Or 3 months, however long the class is?
Yeah.
I would totally do it.
Yeah.
Like I want to eventually get to a point where maybe it's somebody I meet or maybe it's somebody I hire or whatever. But go to some remote place and actually trek the wilderness, learn how to kill an animal, clean it, cut it up, pack it out. You know, like that's not
That's
something you
definitely
just
an
that's not
life
something
skill.
you just
Yeah.
do.
No.
You don't just go out into the wilderness, kill an animal, and
Well,
know
like
how to do
a
these
lot of
things.
hunters, but
Yeah,
they were taught. It's usually a generational thing that you're taught.
absolutely.
But
But there's so many people that hunt from a deer stand.
that's true.
Like that's not
Oh yeah, bow hunting is like
that's
true hunting.
yeah,
It's a
that's
whole
not what I
different
want to
skill set.
do. Like, I want to drive to the end of a road where you then park your car and then walk 5 miles into the wilderness to hunt
The
deer.
animal
Yeah,
and-
learn how to track an
Real.
animal, learn what hoof prints look like, their footprints, whatever. I think that'd be so cool.
I bet you could like call up a bow, because I had a patient once who owned a bow store in Midwest City.
Mhm.
I bet you could call them and be like, hey, do you have any hunters that like wouldn't mind taking me out and like showing me the ropes?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I found a couple people on Instagram.
There you go. Yeah, but there's a lot of
there's-
YouTube videos and YouTubers who like take people along on their hunts and stuff.
Well, there's some.
University, man.
Yeah, you can watch anything on YouTube. Just the other day, I was making a joke to my wife about cutting out her voice box because she was talking too much. I was like, "Hey, I'm sure we could find a video on YouTube of how to cut out your voice box. I'm sure we could do it right here on the couch."
My husband, a urologist who did his vasectomy, I walked my husband back to the room, but then they made me leave. And he made the joke, I just watched a YouTube video on how to do this. Lay down, spread them. I got this.
Have you ever seen a feeding tube taken out?
I've taken out feeding tubes.
I did not know that I could have done it.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever my wife had hers,
Oh.
we waited. So after my wife's coma, she had this feeding tube in her for months, and it was because we couldn't get to. They couldn't fit her in for some reason. The doctor, so it ended up being in.
Was it like a peg tube?
It's the one. It was the. It was a tube that came out from her
Okay.
stomach, like
Yeah.
it went all the way in, and it had the
Yeah.
balloon on the inside,
Yeah.
whatnot. that sealed it. You
Yeah.
know, after she came home, she no longer needed it, so it was clamped off and whatnot, and just hanging there for months. And then we go to get it taken out, and the dude literally wraps his hand around the thing and goes, and then we paid him like $100. I was like, dude, I could have done that on my couch.
A lot of things people can do.
I was like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's all he did.
But like the off chance that something were to go wrong, you would need their skill set.
Yeah, but the likelihood
But the likelihood
that it would is very.
Pay for that
Because she laid down on the table and he came in and was like, oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like my dad
it'll close
didn't
itself
believe
up.
in paying doctors to take out stitches. My dad took out all my stitches. Cut off a couple of my casts.
I was gonna say, isn't it just? Don't you just cut it and then pull the thread up?
Yeah.
Really, isn't that literally all it is?
That's literally all it is.
Because that's all they do.
Yeah, but you also have to check the incisions like integrity and make sure it's not dehisced, which means pulling apart or like infected.
Yeah.
But
sounds like when everything knew what he was doing.
But when everything looks fine.
Yeah, like that's what 911's for. Listen, I was taking out my wife's stitches, and it turns out it wasn't healed properly.
It was connected to something. I've taken out many of my coworkers' stitches.
Yeah. Well, you're a nurse. So. Let's get back to politics.
Okay.
Okay. We got sidetracked there for a second. I don't remember.
I'm just riding this. Wherever we go.
That's what I like about these conversations. They kind of just go wherever.
Yeah.
But politics is a good one. But I wanted to ask you, as a woman, specifically, not what do you think about Kamala Harris, but do you, as a woman, want to see a woman in the Oval Office? Because
it would have to be the right woman.
The way people are, there are going to be people who vote for her just because she's a woman.
Right.
Simply because she's a woman.
Just like there is an exception to every stereotype, there are stereotypes for a reason. A lot of women can make very emotional decisions. But I've met some bad A women who I would trust with everything. Like a lot of the women in leadership at my work are amazing bad A women who are cutthroat, keep all the doctors in line, like inspiring. I would definitely not vote for a woman to be in the Oval Office just because she's a woman. She would have to be exceptional. Just like, anyone to step foot in the Oval Office, I think should be an exceptional human being.
What do you think about a woman in the role of the President of the United States? The reason I ask is because I heard some people talking about it one time, and just the simple fact of how other countries around the world do not view women like we do.
That was my first thought.
Very many countries around the world still view women as women. Like, you are beneath me, I'm a man. And whether you agree with that or not, that is still a dynamic that a woman would have to overcome when sitting across the table from a man who thinks like that.
But to also get into politics, the current sitting president.
You are having trouble with words today, aren't you?
President. The current.
Our president
is a joke.
Yes.
And I think all of the countries, regardless of their view on women, are like, like. So, it would be an interesting added dynamic, but I think if it was the right woman, she would be able to prove very quickly or rise to the occasion. And if like crap went down, she would handle it appropriately because it would have to be a very bad A, strong woman.
as much as I hate to say this, I think Hillary Clinton would have
She
made.
is terrifying.
She is absolutely,
She is terrifying.
absolutely. But as far as a politician goes, she is very good
She's
at being a politician. Like even me and Rachel watched Kamala Harris's first speech, and she stuck to the script. And she was not.
Oh.
She was actually very confident and very strong and powerful. Like she had a very good speech. At the end of it, I was like, I may not like her, but she did really well. But she stuck to the teleprompters with reading off, what she was supposed to say. Now I've seen very many times where she goes off the cuff, and that's kind of where she's to ramble.
They are.
Where you see how she rambles and says things that don't really make sense sometimes. But I've heard that she is actually a very intelligent person.
Well, I mean, she's a lawyer.
Yeah.
Where she's climbed in her career is outstanding. Like that woman as a person, 100% is strong and intelligent.
That's why I was explaining to somebody one day about how whenever they decided to pick her, like one of the best things that she has going for her is 4 years as vice president, because that's a strong resume to have behind you. Like you may not agree with what I've done back there, but yeah,
I mean,
I'm the current vice president of the United States. Like, seen how the job works.
Pretty exceptional.
What do you think about Donald Trump? Since we're talking about Kamala, we got to talk about them both.
I know. Yeah.
We got to talk about them both. Two sides to every coin.
I know, and he very much just like Kamala Harris. I don't agree with what she says, but she is an exceptional human being as far as all that she's accomplished and overcome. And Donald Trump, he did a lot of amazing things for our country, and he is an exceptional businessman, and his resume is pretty spectacular. But also how he has treated women and spoken about women, and his integrity as just he has integrity in ways that he hasn't been bought by a lot of people to push him around for different agendas. But
he's still part of that system, though.
Yeah. And the things that are so crude that he'll say.
See, that's my biggest. Twitter. That was my biggest thing about him. He's hilarious.
You're representative of our country.
See, that was my biggest thing. And people, when I explain that to people, they look at me weird. But I'm like, the office of the President of the United States holds a certain stature that when you are in that seat, whether these people voted for you or not, you are still a representation of all 300 and something million people that are in this country. Like, you represent everybody.
And everybody's watching.
Yeah.
You don't get the freedom to just say whatever you would like on Twitter.
I kind of feel like he spent his presidency with his feet kicked up on the presidential desk with his Twitter app going like this. Hey, I'm going to say this.
And I'm like, no. And he's like, sent.
Sent. Too late.
Yeah, it's wild.
I'm pretty sure at one point in time, there was something going on between North Korea, and he's like, oh, we'll just bomb them. I think he tweeted that or something.
Yeah.
It's something ridiculous like that. Like, he just says what's on his mind like a child does. Like, that's what I love about children. I love children.
You always knew what he was thinking.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, the way he responded to getting shot with the flag.
Oh my God.
That was wild.
When we saw that, I told my wife, I was like, that's going to be in the history books.
Oh no, Zach, my husband said the exact same thing.
I was like, on a date. That right there. The blood.
Junkies. I was like, babe, look, just what, because he ran to the bathroom. So I got on Instagram to scroll for a second, and someone sent me, and I was like, oh. And he was like, this is history. We're at Pie Junkies, right? I can't talk still. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was
that actually
I think that made him look really strong too.
Just like it did for Ronald Reagan.
Mhm. Like it made him look very strong because he stood up and was like, I had someone try to tell me that it proved that he was a time traveler because of the so he's talking and then his head turns and then the bullet grazes his ear.
Yeah, it was
Like
literally
it
the
was
last second.
yeah, last second turn. He's like, see, bro, told you, time traveler. He knew it was coming.
Definitely not a coincidence.
I was like, okay.
No, that's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. It was interesting to watch the footage of it because like I've seen people break it down and talk about how it was a massive failure from a Secret Service perspective, which I don't know the details of that. When I originally saw it, I thought they did a good job personally, but I'm also not a Secret Service
I
agent
don't know.
or an
I don't
elite,
know the logistics of how that works.
But I remember watching it and you see the bullet graze him, and then in the background you see the sniper shift and then take a shot. It was really cool. It was really
See
cool.
that.
He just adjusted a little bit to
Uh-huh.
where the shot came from. It was so cool. Yeah, it was really cool. It was a. They didn't show it very much. I saw it. And I was like, "Ooh, did you see that? Did you see him move in the
It
background?"
was just like a quick.
Yeah,
and
just
then
a
we
quick little.
noticed.
Yeah. But I mean, that's their job. So.
Yeah.
But as far as failures go, I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know.
that instance made him look really strong. I know the Democratic Party probably didn't like that. My favorite meme from that, my wife sent me, and it was a picture of Hillary peeking around the corner. What do you mean they missed? Oh my God. That was my favorite meme that came from that. That's the greatest thing since the internet. Is the memes that come up.
Oh yeah, and like
I love it.
how many relationships I have that are 99% communicated with just sending memes back and forth, and I feel so close to them and feel so seen.
You get me. You complete me.
Yeah, they even have like a word called pebbling. Uh, um, it's penguins whenever they really care about someone, they bring them a pebble,
Mhm. The most
Right.
perfect pebble.
and it's means is pebbling.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
My wife just read something the other day. I had already known the thing about the penguins getting a pebble, but so penguins are one of the only animals that mate for life,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And then whatever, like their proposal is bringing them the pebble.
Yeah.
So that's like how they propose to their little soulmate and whatnot. They find the perfect pebble and bring it to them. But she just told me that the other day. I was like, I already knew that. But now I'm gonna be like, hey, you know that pebble thing you told me the other day? Guess what? Sending memes to you is. It's called pebbling. It just means I love you.
Yeah. I feel like watching Happy Feet now. I do too.
I do the little like,
Yeah.
every once in a while, like when I'm happy. I'm just standing around sometimes. Like, people look at me weird. I'm like, you wouldn't understand.
During jujitsu, I like to quote different movies and songs.
I like the little Mexican penguins. We got
Those are the
personality.
best ones, 100%.
I think that penguin specifically was Cheech Marin.
Well, it would have to be.
I think it was.
I feel like if
I
it's
love
not, then that would just be.
My whole thing is, are there Mexican penguins? Like Latino penguins? I know there's penguins in Argentina, in South America.
So they're just. Then I guess that's technically Latino. It's Latin.
Is South America Latin though?
I don't know. I'm not very cultured.
I don't think that's Latin.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's something to look up after
We
this.
should.
Is Argentina Latin? I'll look it up right now. Argentine. Or it's spelled Argentina wrong. Argentina. Is Argentina safe? Yes, Argentina is a country in Latin America. So yes, It would be. So that would make most penguins
There you
from
go.
Argentina laugh.
There you go.
Then.
So you've like discovered there are Latin penguins, and you
That's
can
smart.
imagine them with their little accents in their brains.
We got personality. I love those penguins. Love them so much. It's like the penguins from Madagascar. Smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave. Little military penguins.
It's pretty legit too.
I like penguins. Maybe I get a tattoo of a penguin somewhere.
Which penguin? Like a serious one? Like a tuxedo one?
Aren't they constantly wearing tuxedos?
Right, but like one that's like they're wearing a tuxedo. Or get a little Latina. We got personality.
Maybe I'll get the smile and wave one on my calf, so when I run by people, that's what they see.
There you go.
Just
There you
smile
go.
and wave.
Smile and wave. Perfect. I really want to get a little bouquet of my children's birth flowers.
That's cute. I like that.
Yeah.
Where'd you put it?
I've always imagined it being on my shoulder.
Like your upper
Yeah.
shoulder blade
Yeah.
area?
Yeah. Is where I've always imagined it, but then like I do kind of like the idea of it being like on the inside of my arm too. I don't know.
You have any tattoos?
I do not.
No.
I do not.
They hurt.
It's like my sisters, we multiple times over the years have been like, yeah, okay, we're gonna get matching tattoos. And we all agreed on the silhouette of three little sparrows because sparrows represent loyalty and always coming back together. And we were gonna get three little sparrows and we were all gonna get them in different places. And then each time one of my sisters would chicken it.
I always tell people that no matter what you get, just as long as it means something to you, that's all that matters. Like, I don't get tattooed, so for other people, I get all these tattoos mean something to me. You know.
Yeah, tell the story. I got oh my goodness, these piercings in February of 2020 with one of my best friends, Elle. It was our 10-year friendship anniversary, and we each have 3 kids. And so we got 3, but then my third one fell out and healed up. So now I just have 2.
I only see one.
Oh no, it fell out then. Oh, yep. The stone falls out of these all the time.
Oh, okay. I see 1, 2, 3. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see the.
At jujitsu, they fall out. I'm supposed to take them out, but it's such a pain.
I can imagine getting into that
'Cause
little crevice.
Yeah, because how these earrings works, it's the little plastic thing that goes through the hole, and then the diamond, which is itty bitty, is what you screw in, and you can't even see it because it's so small. You can't see where you're screwing because the diamond is hidden in your fingers. I can't do it myself. I always have to have somebody else do it for me, and it regularly falls out.
Yeah, there's only one diamond there.
Shoot. So thank you for telling me.
You're welcome. I was like, I don't see 3. I don't even see 2.
There used to be.
But I could see where the holes were.
Yeah, during COVID, I got sent back to the hospital because I was working in rehab, and I got sent back to the hospital to help out. And I woke up for work at 4 a.m. and realized that third one had fallen out, and it was taking so long to heal. It was still bloody and real angry while the other ones were healed. And it fell out, and I couldn't put it back in myself. And I wasn't about to wake up my husband at 4 a.m. and be like, "Hey, put this back in for me." So
my wife would totally wake me up.
So I just let it close up. So it took forever to heal anyway. Do you have any?
I used to have piercings.
Yeah.
I at one point in time I had 2 in the lobe here and 1 in this lobe.
Huh.
And then second time in my life I pierced each lobe again. That's it as far as piercings go. I was never really into piercings. My brother had the hoops,
Yeah.
the spacers,
Yeah.
and stuff for the longest time. He went with those. I don't remember if they're all completely healed up, but for a while there, his ears were just dangly.
Yeah.
Just dangly little holes.
Yeah. A lot of times you have to have surgery to get them like reconstructed. It's a lot of times once you get big enough, they don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say his weren't super huge.
Oh, okay.
He didn't
just
have like
has
the huge
oh,
ones.
God,
He had the like little spacers in them. So I think that they healed back I don't know. He's my guest next week. So
So good deal. How are your ears, brother?
yeah, I'm like, let's talk about your ears for a minute. I remember they used to stink.
Yes.
Those things, those
Yeah.
spacers, like
Whenever I was in high
yeah,
school, the guys would pop them out and be like,
smell it, smell it. Yeah, no, they smell bad, real bad. And he never really took them out because getting them back in was always so hard because they're stretched out.
so, yeah,
You know.
imagine something.
Yeah, piercings were never really my thing.
Yeah. I really want to get another piercing over here and get like this pierced right here.
Like inside of the ear?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of squeezing of your ears in jiu-jitsu.
But yeah, I was like, I would have to miss jujitsu for so long to let it heal.
Well, then that, and like you would have to take it out because
Oh yeah, I would definitely have to.
I'm surprised.
Because this one is so tiny and it's flat on the back that on like I've been doing jujitsu in November, it'll be 2 years, and I've never had it like pulled on. Because the issue is to protect me. It's not really to protect
Yeah.
anybody else. And I've never had an issue with it. Just but here lately,
That's also in a unique spot.
Yeah.
Kind of your arm is not really up there. Like when you're squeezing your ear, this is
Yeah.
the part that gets pressed
yeah, because
back.
this is where I get my cauliflower ear
Yeah.
bruise stuff.
Yeah, this is the part of the ear that gets pressed back. So I think that one, yeah, you would have to miss a lot to get that.
Yeah,
You like piercings that much?
I think they're cool. I don't know. I like how they're permanent, but only like pseudo permanent because you can always just take them out and then it's gone. It's like it never happened.
I don't know. I still have a cartilage from my piercings. Like you can feel it.
Well, yeah, yeah. Like I have a second hole that I like hardly ever use. That
Still hold up.
but it's yeah. It's,
If you want to.
well, my husband had his ears pierced in high school, both of them, and he's a professional businessman. And he's
Can he still put it in the earring?
yeah. Every once in a while, we'll just
Is it just
see it
like
for funsies.
just like your thin wire that goes through earring, or is it like a stud?
If I really push, I can put a stud, but it's definitely easier to just do
got
a
hurt.
little hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your daughter dress him up?
Oh, he's a great dad. He lets her paint his nails and do his makeup.
I would be the best girl dad. I would. I swear.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of looking forward to you bringing her today. I was a little disappointed you didn't because I was like, oh, she's bringing her daughter.
She would be a great star.
I was going to say we could have just sat her right there.
Everywhere I take her, they're like, she should have her own show. She's hilarious. She says some fun stuff. My boys are really sweet but she's wild. She did the sweetest thing. We took her. We went to Sun Wilderness last weekend and to go for like a family walk and play in the mud. And so then we were all taking showers. And whenever I got out of the shower, she was waiting for me on my bathroom floor with a basket and a blanket. And I was like, "What's that?" She's like, "I packed us a picnic. I want to have a picnic on the driveway with you." We've never had a picnic, especially on the driveway. And she packed me a banana and a baggie of carrots and a fruit snack. And she said, "And I know this sparkling water is your favorite flavor, so I got it." Melt me. And I had zero time to do this. I was supposed to go see my friend Julie for her. It was her birthday. And
Yeah.
I was supposed to go see her, and I was like 30 minutes late. So I was like, "I'm sorry, I had to have a picnic with my daughter on the driveway."
I'm sure she understood.
No, she was the best.
That is super sweet though. Like if I had a daughter, everybody's always told me if I ever had a daughter, I'd be wrapped around a little girl's finger, and I would. Yeah, I would never be able to be the bad guy. Be like, you tell daddy what you need, and I will get it.
Yeah, especially if she looked like Rachel,
Oh,
because Ember looks just like me.
oh.
You'd be broken.
I remember you posted a picture on Instagram of your kids, and I think I came across your daughter, and I think I commented on it. I was like, man, she looks just like you. Like,
Finally going to listen.
well, it makes sense if boys don't like look like you. They're boys.
Well, no, sometimes I mean it's wild sometimes how men can look so cute
Sure.
as a girl version.
Sure. I would have made a pretty girl. They were actually hoping I was a girl.
It's funny. My mom initially, the first ultrasound said that we were 3 boys. Because the ultrasound in the 80s
Yeah.
sucked.
Yeah.
And so they did amniocentesis and found out one day at a time that we were girls.
What is that? They draw blood or something?
They stick a needle into the mom's belly and take a sample of the amniotic fluid from each baby.
So the amniotic fluid is different if you're a male or female.
It has
Different.
it has their
nutrients.
pee in it
Yeah.
because they're peeing and
Yeah.
and so you can do like all sorts of tests, different fluids for DNA sequencing.
Yeah. Pretty soon you're gonna be able to design your own baby.
Well, I mean, some people can to an extent.
Yeah, if you have
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I think it's going to be more common at one point in time
Yeah,
than
sure. Yeah,
not.
yeah. Like more and more stuff is
Yeah.
getting more for people.
Well,
Science is wild.
science is wild, but always depends on who controls it.
Oh, for sure.
That's the problem with it. Like, yeah, it's amazing and everything, but you still have fucking cancer.
It's true. Well, and I think there's money to be made.
That's
And,
my point. It's like I'm sorry, but with everything that we can do, you can't tell me that you haven't figured out how to take care of cancer in people for a cheap amount. Like, you
well,
just
like,
shelve it.
well, and I don't think it's necessarily the cancer treatment always that's lacking. It's the causing of the cancer. Like so many foods that are like children's foods. If you look into the ingredients, if you eat it regularly, it causes cancer. And like kids get stuck to where like all they'll eat is like Cheerios and mac and cheese, and both of those things have things in them that'll cause cancer.
Yeah, if you eat too much of it.
And I mean, anything will cause cancer if you eat too much of it. But
That's what my wife one day came across an article that was talking about how Gatorade is linked to causing cancer. And I was like, okay, show me the studies that they did and the people that got cancer from drinking Gatorade. Is Gatorade all that they drink?
right, right.
Like, because I drink Gatorade almost on a daily basis, but I drink it to refuel for electrolytes, like what it's meant for after a hard workout or, you know, uh, but I don't drink it regularly. Like, I don't think it's going to cause cancer. Maybe it does have something in it that causes cancer, but you have to drink a lot of something.
Well, like artificial sweeteners, they came out with some articles that artificial sweeteners cause cancer. And like I had some family members who freaked out and got rid of everything that had artificial sweetener. But if you really looked at it, you would have to have like 14 servings a day consistently for it to cause an issue.
There are some people.
And there are
that do
some
that,
people, yeah, and 100% there are a lot of like,
but no, it's not
but
everybody.
most people, the
Yeah.
person I'm talking about, they have like one can of diet soda, not even every day. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, no.
That's why, like, for a couple weeks when we went to the grocery store, she wouldn't buy it. I was like, why did you stop buying Gatorade? It's like, oh, because it causes cancer. It's like, no. I was like, get it back. Like, we don't drink it that much. We're not gonna die tomorrow. Don't worry.
My favorite hydration stuff is those Noon tablets, N-U-U-N. That stuff.
Comes in a little capsule about
Yeah.
that big,
Yeah.
off the top, and
Yeah, and 3 tablets is technically a daily serving. Because I like it that it's not like ridiculously salty like that liquid IV and stuff.
I haven't drank the liquid IV. I do. I use an electrolyte supplement.
Huh.
It's made by BPN, Bear Performance Nutrition.
Uh-huh.
It's the brand
Huh.
that I use. The only one I have right now is the electrolyte, but the man who owns it, Nick Bear, he is a hybrid athlete.
Hmm.
So like everything that they make is stuff that he uses, and he's a very like 4% body fat, like ex bodybuilder. He's done triathlons, ultra marathons. Like he designed stuff that he would use on a daily fueling process. That's kind of what I like about his particular supplements.
You know what I really want to do someday would, if I ever had like a little extra money or maybe Christmas or something, get a sweat test that
I've heard
tells
about
you
that.
how much sodium and potassium you actually are excreting and like how much you really need to be taking in, because electrolytes have a big deal on like your cognition, the electrical function in your heart, how well your muscles recover. I mean, it can play a huge role in so many different things, and a lot of us are under or over that stuff.
That's why I actually use that electrolyte every single day with my other things that I take in the morning. Um, but a lot of the
Especially with
times,
how much you're
a lot of
sweating.
the times, it's after a 5 to 6 mile run and after a 10-mile run or a workout in the garage, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I actually need the electrolytes that I take.
Yeah.
I don't think that if anything, I'm probably under
You think,
what, if I had to guess.
considering how much you're sweating?
Yeah, but I can't afford the supplements.
Oh, I know.
It's
It's
like
crazy.
they are
So much.
very expensive.
Like the quality stuff, because
Yeah,
like to get that third party tested supplement where what's in it is actually what they say is in it,
yeah.
not just random.
That's actually one of the reasons I quit. I tried Athletic Greens
Oh yeah.
for a while, and one of their things is it doesn't describe what's in it. It's hidden for. There's a word for it. I can't think of it. But it's so people. They say it's so people don't know what they put in theirs. There's a word for that. I don't remember what it is. So on the back of it, it doesn't describe. It may tell you what's in it, but it doesn't tell you the percentage.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, like my friend Julie, who as an ultra marathon runner, you have to take these carb gels and carb gummies and different supplements while you're running to sustain these like ridiculous runs. And just so happens some guy who has a lab or works at a lab decided to test some of these very popular mainstream carb supplement gels for athletes. And I want to, she can tell you about it, but there's a certain
We'll probably
margin
talk
of
about it.
error that's allowed. That's because not everything can be an exact T, because calories are tested by literally like lighting out a fire, and how long it burns for is the calorie or whatever content. So there's like a margin of error, whatever, or one way or the other. Well, this was like a significant amount of less carbs than what they were advertising.
Yeah.
My auditory memory's crap, and she was telling me
Yeah.
about it, but it was like wild. And so they had to go and give refunds for all these different people once they were called out on their poor quality.
That's good. Like companies need to be held to that kind of
Yeah.
standard, though. Like
And a lot
you
of
say,
them
this
are-
is in it. This is what it's for, but it's not. They're
since
not.
vitamins aren't really regulated.
Yeah. But see, that's one of the things that I didn't like about Athletic Greens, and there's a couple other companies that I could say the same thing about, but Athletic Greens specifically, I was spending.
They're pricey.
Yeah, I was spending close to $100 every 45 days for their little bag
Mm-hmm.
thing that they came.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one scoop a day in this little shaker. And it didn't tell you the exact percentages of what was in it. It just labeled what was in the container. So, and at this point, I had already gotten to a point where I'm eating the same breakfast and lunch, maybe a different dinner, but eating healthy, vitamins, fruits, vegetables, all that stuff. So at one point in time, I was like, I wonder if this is really helping me. So I canceled the subscription and ended up running out of it. And when I ran out of it, my run times actually got faster.
Interesting.
yeah, like it was like a week after I had run out of it, my run times, and I don't know if I would say I felt better, but my run times got faster. I'm not saying that it was negating my run times. I just don't think it was helping me.
Yeah.
Like
You never know what was in it.
I don't think that I needed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like now for somebody who doesn't eat great,
Mhm.
maybe athletic greens works for them.
Or
But
like if they're
somebody
transitioning in there,
or transitioning,
trying
yeah.
to figure out.
But if you've already kind of, I wouldn't say at peak performance, but at a decent level of performance with your nutrition and your water intake and your electrolytes, your protein and all that stuff, you don't need that $100 extra supplement. Like you're just wasting your money.
Yeah.
And then plus on top of that, I watched a dude on YouTube break it down for athletic greens. He actually got into the science behind it, but he was talking about he's like the way athletic greens advertises, there's no way that one scoop that you take every day is getting everything that you say is in that.
Mhm.
Now maybe everything that they say is in it is in that bag,
Yeah.
but it's not in that scoop that you
Right.
take every day.
Yeah.
He's like, that's where the misleading comes
Mhm.
in. And that's where it's just for profit and whatnot. He's like, all these people that tout it, like they're making money every time they tell you to take athletic greens or that they drink athletic
Mhm.
greens. They make money.
Mhm.
It's like you got to remember that.
Mhm.
And then so that after watching that video was when I was like, man, I'm gonna see if this really helps me. Stopped it and I haven't started back up since. Like I'll just stick with the little protein, the creatine monohydrates, and
Yeah.
things like that. You know, like the stuff that you know is actually helping you improve.
Mhm. And I've been trying to get farther and farther away from like protein bars and protein shakes. Like I'll drink them if I need to every once in a while, but I really try. You really learn, like, especially the more muscle you build, you really can eat so much more than what this diet culture has, especially told women that they can eat. And whenever you eat food that's like whole food, like real food,
Mm-hmm.
your body responds to it in so much better of a way than just filling your diet with a whole bunch of like fake protein, like protein shakes, protein bars.
Yeah, I don't like the protein bars. Most of them have sugars in them, and like they're not.
Or sugar alcohols. The sugar alcohols wreck me. My stomach does not like sugar alcohol.
But you're right about the eating part. Like I've noticed that, and as I get further up in the races that I want to do, like it's one of the reasons I want to talk to your friend Julie because like the next race I want to do is going to be a 50 miler, which she's done.
Yeah, she's done.
You know,
Through the forest.
yeah, most of them go through the forest.
Yeah. That's like wild. Like just running 50 miles alone is like, then it's like, and then the terrain is going like this.
The one I decided to do is it's in March of next year, which is around my birthday. It'll be Moab,
Oh, cool.
Utah. Moab 50, which I think they do 100-mile too. But I've decided that I want to win a race now too.
Ooh,
So the one that I picked is a really hard one.
yeah.
Um, this is after, so it's the race that I want to win is coming up for this year. It's called the Big Tex Backyard Ultra. Do you know what that is by any chance?
No, sounds amazing.
So, and I put it out into the universe, especially now that I said it on here.
Mhm.
So that the BPN supplements that I was talking about, Nick Bear,
Mhm.
the guy who owns it, I sent him a rough draft of one of the chapters in my book with a note on top of it that said basically, hey, I appreciate what you do. Thank you. You know, like I've made better decisions in my life because of what you put out, and whatnot. And it's like, I know you have a full plate and everything, but if you ever want to get some free time, I'd love to podcast with you. If you flip this over, like I sent you the first chapter of my book, enjoy, blah, blah, blah. Um, but on that note that I sent to him, I put goals that I've achieved and then goals that I've set. And one of them was this race that I'm telling you about. So the Big Tech's Backyard Ultra is, if you want to go, I'll need a team whenever I go. I'll
Oh,
need some people to help me. So what it is it's 4.1 something miles every hour on the hour until one runner's left. So it's not
there's
not
no set time or
there's no
distance.
set time. You just have to complete 4.123 miles every hour and then be at the start line for the next hour to start.
So you have to maintain a consistent speed the whole time too.
Well, I mean, you
'Cause you
figure,
have to be able to.
so if you run, say, a 10-minute mile, so that's a little over 40 minutes, that gives you 18 minutes to rest before the next. They
Yeah.
call it a yard.
Yeah.
So you run a yard in say you run it in 35 minutes. You have 25 minutes to rest before the next yard starts. Right?
Because my friend Julie did Death by 5K.
Oh, I've heard about, is that like something?
24 hours you run
Yeah.
a 5K
Is that,
over and over and over again in the wilderness.
so that's just continuous?
Um,
Or is it,
I
'cause-
forget how it works, but it's a similar kind of
Yeah.
setup to what you were talking about, but it's only for 24 hours. There's a set time.
yeah, no, this is not. This is if you do 24
And
hours,
there's no like time limit. I don't
there's
think
no time limit.
on the Death by 5K, but there's you
The only way you fail in this is if you give up or you don't make that
yeah, if
hour
you run
cutoff.
too slow.
If you run too slow, or
Which I could imagine
if you quit.
people.
Well, yeah, I'm sure,
do.
because after 24 hours of running those yards every hour, you've surpassed 100 miles. Because that's one of the things. Like if you pass 24 hours, you get a 100-mile buckle. But I want to win that race in 2025.
That's
It
amazing.
happens in November.
It's amazing.
So that gives me time to hit my 50 miler, do a 100 miler, and then do that big Tex backyard ultra.
She's gonna geek out talking about all this running stuff with you.
I know it's gonna be so much fun.
She's
I'm looking forward to it. But that's one of the reasons I want to talk to her, because she understands the fueling process
Yeah.
of these.
oh yeah, the carb loading she
Yeah.
has to do for her first marathon. Her carb of choice was bagels, and she couldn't look at a bagel for a very long time. She had to eat an obscene amount of bagels. I want to say it was a couple days leading up, and then the day of.
Yeah. That's what, whenever I did my marathon, I was not properly fueled for it.
And that's usually, she's telling me about how a lot of times when she sees people have big issues during runs like that.
It's because they don't fuel properly. And that's one of the things that I'm starting to learn now, because since the ultra marathon running in itself is such a tedious task, that I've been doing the hybrid athlete type training, which is running long distances, but also lifting.
Oh.
So it works your entire body.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Like I'll do runs in the morning and then workouts in the afternoon, kind of thing.
Yeah, she depending on her run schedule and how close she is to a big run, she'll do weightlifting too.
Yeah. But it's amazing how much it makes you faster.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The
Well, it
strength
supports
training.
your joints and stuff. I mean, like I remember I considered myself in my early 20s kind of like skinny fat.
Mhm.
Like I never lifted weights. I only did my stair climber or my elliptical, and I only did it about 3 days a week. And I constantly ate like 1,200 calories.
Mhm.
And my body composition now, as like 15 years later, is so much better. And although I weigh more, I wear a different size, and my clothes fit me so much better. Like weightlifting has been such a game changer for my quality of life. Like I don't have knee pain anymore. I don't have back pain anymore.
It's amazing. Whenever I switched to a active, healthier lifestyle, I went through a long period where my lower back was just pain all the time. And it made me want to quit a lot. And I think a lot of people go through this because like my gut was bigger, like my back was carrying around a lot of needless weight. So, and when you're out running, your stance when you're running is
very much supported by your back.
Your abs are
Yeah,
what supports your back. If your abs
And-
go to crack.
And those muscles in your lower back would get to, like, I'd get done with a run and I'd be like, ugh, I can't move, because my back was so strained. And it took months for that to go away. And it was so hard to break through that. Like, I completely understand why people start on a healthier journey and then quit, because it is very fucking painful.
Oh yeah.
It's very painful. But once you get to that other side, like you said, like those pains go away. Your joint pains, like knee pains.
I remember being so frustrated because I wanted to do squats, but my knees hurt too badly. So then I had to modify them with those TRX bands. And people, I think, have this all or nothing perfectionist mindset. Like, if it doesn't look like this, then I don't want it at all. And instead of allowing yourself to be like, you know what, it's better to do half a workout than no workout. It's better to do a workout tired at 50% than not do it at all.
It is.
And so many times when people have low back pain, it's actually due to tight hip flexors. And people not being aware of like their posture when running or lifting, and making sure to stretch appropriately.
Stretching
Make all the difference. Especially the older we get. My foam roller and stretching is
one of my biggest issues is my right hip. Whether it be the hip flexors or the actual joint itself, but that's because of the way I lived my life for so long. Like, I didn't take care of those specific areas like I should have. So now that I'm getting in my 40s, I'm starting to have these issues, especially with what I'm trying to do. So I'm 42. Like, shit don't work like when I was 22.
I'm started PT 3 weeks ago for my left hip, because my left hip is anteriorly rotated, which is causing the head of my femur to get stuck in the front.
Ooh.
And I have all this posterior area in my pelvic bone that the head of my femur is not using, and it's constantly getting stuck. So then it feels like my femur bone is literally going to break when it gets stuck. It hurts way bad.
What causes that?
Pushing out my daughter.
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it.
No, it's
like giving birth.
I got a severe injury in my pelvic bone when I was pushing her out.
You ruined Mama's hip.
My epidural did not work one bit, and the pain of pushing her out did not compare to the pain I was experiencing in my left hip when she was born. And as soon as she was born, my left hip started catching, but it would only catch in certain positions, like not even every day. But it's continued to where it's
So is this
happening.
Is this something that you fix through like mobility work and stretching?
They're having me do these different things. Like, one of the things is be on all fours and put my left knee on a yoga block, and then cross my ankles and really rest my left leg into that yoga block. So it's like,
so it sits in that socket better.
To go posterior.
Oh, okay.
And then they're having me do. I didn't realize, even with jujitsu, I would have thought my adductor muscles were super strong. They weren't strong enough, because whenever I started PT, my adductor muscles were killing me, and I realized they were a lot weaker than I realized. And so they're doing that. But ever since I started PT, my hip is hardly ever catching.
Good.
And like, it's a lot of work. I'm going to do like these 5 exercises in the morning and at night. It just goes to show movement can be just as prescriptive as surgery. Because if I don't do it, I'm going to end up having surgery. That's what it said.
Yeah.
You need a hip replacement.
Yeah.
And I don't want none of that.
That's what I went to the doctor for my hip issue a while back, and for some reason the insurance wouldn't cover the PT for it, or it did, but it didn't cover it all. So I was literally
Weird.
going to go to PT that morning, and they called me and they're like, "Hey, we just want to let you know it's going to be $100 and blah 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 dollars for your visit today, because insurance only pays for this much." And I was like, "Well, you can cancel my appointment, because I'm not paying you $150 to teach me some stretches. Like, I'll go on YouTube and learn something." One of the things that's helps me out personally is, like, you know how when you're laying on your back for a sit-up, you bring your knees up and then you lift your pelvis.
Yeah.
You know, girls see
Color
girls
bridges.
bridges. Yeah,
Yeah.
the bridging,
Mhm.
doing the bridging. That has helped with my hip flexors so much.
It's one of my exercises. I have to get not a yoga ball, like a really thick rubber ball,
Mhm.
and I have to squeeze it in between my knees equally. I have to make sure I'm doing it equally because I have a bad habit of squeezing one side harder than the other.
Okay.
And then I do a bridge. I have to do it 15 times in a row, 2 sets.
Ooh, I'm gonna do that.
And
I have a 20-pound medicine ball. That
well, that might be a little too much.
well,
I just got a $5 ball from Walmart.
I have an $8,
Okay.
8 pound one, maybe not dollar. See, you said dollar.
I know.
You're messing up my words now.
But it's helped my hip pain a lot.
Try that. I'll add that in there. I usually do it because like my warm ups are 50 burpees, 50 push ups, 100 sit ups, and I do 10, 10. I do 10 burpees, 10 sit ups, 10 push ups, 10 sit ups, 10 burpees. You know, back and forth,
There you go.
and I add those bridges in there
Okay.
after the sit ups. Like after I'm done with the sit ups, and then I'll do my bridges. Get in there, push that up there, and I make sure I feel it in the front. Oh,
Hurts so good.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's like it hurts, but I know it's working.
Yeah.
But stretching is, as you get older, like you have to.
Yeah, it's so hard to take the time to do it because it feels less productive than working out.
It does.
But it makes all the difference, especially once I started doing PT. The schedule I found that was easiest was to just do it first thing in the morning before I even do anything. I just set my alarm for 10 minutes early, do it first thing, and then I do it right before I go to bed. And I try to do my diaphragm breathing while I'm doing my PT, and I sleep so much deeper when I take the time to do that diaphragm breathing and like chill out my nervous system before I go to bed.
What's the diaphragm breathing?
So many people, when they take a deep breath, they breathe with their upper chest. They go, and the diaphragm is a muscle that's right under your lungs. And when you diaphragm breathe, it stimulates your vagus nerve that stops the release of stress hormones and decreases your heart rate, blood pressure. And there's different techniques to diaphragm breathing. Like there's box breathing where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4.
Okay, I know. What that is.
Or I'll teach my patients to do 4, 7, 8, in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8, because blowing out twice as long as you breathe in for is what really stimulates vagus. Okay. And so I always do the 4, 7, 8 breathing, but it's really because our ribs were really made to breathe 360, but so many of us have such tightly notched down muscles around our rib, we're only breathing in the front or up here. And so while I'm doing my exercises, and like even whenever I'm working out at the gym and I'm breathing, because you really should sync your movements to your breathing, like blow out while you're doing the hardest part.
Oh, I
and
do
breathe
it
in.
running all the time.
Yeah. And so
I do it with my
whenever I'm
steps.
doing that, I try to be real mindful to expand my ribs while I'm breathing and not focus on breathing up here. It's definitely a skill you have to like practice, really feeling your ribs expand. And depending on the position you're in, it can be easier to try to breathe in your back. Like if you're on all fours, we're like doing cat cow stuff.
Yeah,
It can help you.
I love those stretches too.
But like whenever I'm sitting there, I have to hold each yoga block under each leg for 2 minutes while I sit there and like really try to relax into it. And so with every breath, I try to relax a little deeper and relax a little deeper. Ever since I've been doing that, I sleep. I fall asleep way faster than normal. And I never really had an issue sleeping before, but well, dude.
I've had lots of issues sleeping. Not so much anymore.
Oh, that's good.
No. It's my sleeping's way better. Like I can fall asleep on my back now.
Oh.
Which is surprising because like ever since I quit drinking and smoking, my snoring went away.
Oh, wow.
The eating healthier helps with that as well.
So usually it's abdominal growth putting pressure on your upper airways.
Yeah.
Making fatigue and collapse.
Man, I sleep so much better. One of the things I love doing is sleeping with the frequencies.
Oh yeah, like different sounds.
Oh yeah, not I'd have to show you what it is. I
Oh.
can't even explain what it is.
But my YouTube knows when I take naps. Because if I pull up YouTube about 1 p.m.,
Uh-huh.
it's these sleep things.
Oh,
Hey, look, we're live. Here it is right here. I was actually listening to one.
so is it like sounds that like your brain is aware of, but your ears
Like-
don't actually hear?
Like, for example, theta waves, it's different megahertz
Mhm.
and stuff.
Yeah, I've
Like
heard
you,
of like
you can
specific.
hear them.
Yeah, I've heard different music that uses that specific hertz. It's
Yeah.
really calming and regulating for people.
Absolutely.
Stuff. Yeah.
But whenever I listen to these, like before you got here, I took a 45-minute nap listening to them, and it's a lot of the times when I take a short nap, or even if this is the better way to describe it, a lot of times when I do take a nap and I listen to these different hertz and everything and waves, I'll plan to take 2 hour nap, but I'll wake up after like an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half and ready to go. Like I slept very well for those 45 minutes. I was in deep sleep. I don't need to sleep for the full 2 hours, or I don't need to sleep for a full 8 hours at night. I'll wake up after 6 hours of sleeping completely rested and ready to go.
We usually go into a new REM sleep cycle every hour and a half.
Yeah.
Usually. And so
You
it's
don't-
kind of at like an hour and a half increments.
So you don't stay in and like you don't get there after an hour and a half of sleeping and stay there for 4 hours.
You cycle in and out of stage 2, 3, and 4, which is light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. You cycle, and then each subsequent cycle of REM sleep gets a little bit longer. So whenever you're planning out how much time you plan on sleeping, you should try to do it in hour and a half increments. Because if you wake up in the middle of a REM sleep cycle, that's when you wake up feeling all groggy and out of it. Because that's when you're producing the highest amounts of sleep hormones and stuff. And alcohol decreases our ability to go into REM sleep, which is when short-term memories are converted to long-term memories, and it's a big part of our learning and cognition.
Oh, I've slept
I
so
teach
much.
a class in sleep.
I've slept so much better since I quit drinking.
Yeah, and then like blue light has a big impact on what sleep hormones will produce.
You're talking about like the same blue lights that come from your phone
Any
and shit.
type of screen is the same lumens that are emitted from the sunrise.
Yeah.
So when we look at any screen before within 2 hours of going to bed, it's literally like looking at the sunrise and telling our brain, I'm going to go to sleep now.
Yeah.
And so it'll decrease the amount of melatonin and sleeping hormones will produce.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that about.
And that was the biggest game changer. When I started teaching my sleep class and I learned about that, I was like, oh my gosh, because my normal nightly routine was to watch something or scroll on my phone while I was getting ready for bed. And
Which
I
is
always
a lot of
slept like,
people's.
I mean, so many people's ingrained sleep schedule or sleep routine is bedtime routine is to look on their phone or watch the news or fall asleep with the TV on. And
I've never been able to do that.
me neither.
I don't like. It's like one of the things I like about these sound waves that I listen to is most of them are black screen. So you can leave your TV on and it's just a completely black screen, like it's off.
Yeah.
The sound's coming out the back.
Yeah. Someone thoughtfully
Yeah, so nice of them.
put.
And they're usually like 8 or 10 hours long, so
Yeah.
they stay on the entire time they're sleeping.
I just I have one of those sound, or no, it's called a wind maker or something fan, super loud. And it's just like, that's what I sleep with.
Like one of those white noise, or just the sound
It's a
of
fan. It's a fan, but it's just real loud.
Isn't it weird how we get used to things?
Like we have to take it on trips with us. We can't sleep in silence.
It's like people who live in New York and then come to
Yeah,
a small
They need
town.
that city sound.
They have. I've heard about it before. Like they have to make recordings of the sounds of the city to listen to while they sleep. Otherwise, they can't sleep.
Yeah.
Because you get used to it.
Yeah.
Like it's part of your.
When I spent the night when I had a sleepover with my sisters, we spent the night at our sister Julie's house because she's not married, doesn't have kids, so she had the easiest option
Yeah.
to invade. And we all slept in the same room, and whenever it was time to go to sleep, she turned off the light, and Laura and I were like, "You don't have a fan? We gotta find a fan."
I can't sleep without it.
They're like, "Are you a psychopath? You sleep in silence? What is this?"
I've gotten used to my AC, the light. My wife will sleep on that side of the bed because the light bothers her, but I've gotten used to it
No,
for some reason.
drive me crazy. I put a little piece of duct tape over it.
She did at one point in time, she put a towel over it, but then it wasn't reading the temperature properly.
Oh no.
So it would think, I think when she was doing that, it was winter time. So it would think that it was warmer than it was. The thermometer would think that it's warmer. So I'm like, you can't cover it. Just sleep on that side.
Yeah. It's funny how that happened. Like, did you guys choose the side of bed you slept on, or was it just a natural thing? I guess
What do you
you
mean?
chose because of the light.
Well, we've moved our bed around a couple times since we lived in this house. I think I've always kind of slept on the right side, but I always sleep on the side that's closest to the door. So
That makes sense.
it doesn't like she's afraid somebody's going to sneak in and murder us, and she'd rather me be murdered first for some reason. I don't know. Like, okay, we have guns, right?
That's funny.
Like here lately at night, it gets cool at night lately, and we've been opening the windows at night, but she will not sleep with our window open. Not because she's afraid somebody's going to break in. She's afraid somebody's going to stand outside of the window and stare at her while she sleeps.
That is a fear of mine. I can't sleep in an open window, like the curtains open.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, that used to be like something that would freak me out as a little girl, because I had a window that didn't have curtains or blinds, and I would get this like thought, like there's gonna be a guy standing at your window, and they always had a creepy smile. In my like intrusive thoughts, imagination.
Well, apparently my wife has the same fear that you have. Because if we leave our window open, somebody's going to watch us
Yeah.
sleep. It's
There
like
was
we
a
have
guy
a
in
pit
Norman
bull
who did
sleeping
that.
right next to you.
There was a guy in Norman who did that. He was stealing people's garage door openers from their cars parked outside, and then a couple days later he would break into their house using the garage door opener and go and stand in their bedroom and not do anything. And multiple people would wake up after having the garage door opener with a man standing in their bedroom, and he never got caught. He always escaped as soon as they woke up. He did it like 10 times.
There are creepy people in the world. I'm not saying there's not.
It's like wild. That's how he chose to use the power of having someone's garage door opener, was to just stay there and watch them sleep. And then how many times do people not wake up? And he was just like, "Well, this has been long enough."
Probably a lot.
Oh, mm,
You're the one who lives in Norman.
I know. But if you ever need a pit stop on your way home, you can totally come hang with my wild crew.
Oh, that is creepy though.
Yeah.
I guess that is a kind of a fear of everybody though. Somebody watch you while because you're very vulnerable when you sleep.
Yeah, everybody's
You're completely
the most
vulnerable.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Like mine was always being stabbed while I'm sleeping. Because there's nothing you can really do. Like specifically by my wife, but she's a redhead. So
I watch out for their red. Yes.
they're crazy.
I had a patient once who was educating me about how, like, if you want to kill someone, make sure you do it with a gun and not a knife, because you get less prison time with a gun than a knife, because a gun can be less premeditated than a knife. There's a lot more thought that goes into it.
Really?
Yeah, he got in way more trouble stabbing someone to death than he did shooting someone to death.
So wait, he did both?
Yeah,
And he got less time for shooting somebody.
because he's more passionate in the moment, not thought through.
Well, they do say that stabbing somebody is very
Awful personal way.
very personal.
Yeah. You're right there watching it happen, as opposed to usually being further away.
Well, that and then, I mean, unless you're pretty precise with the knife, it's going to take you a few stabs to get somebody. Like, it's not very many people know how to stab somebody with a knife. And
It's true.
With
Only
one
medical
time, yeah.
professionals. Or trained.
people,
Yeah,
there's a couple different spots you can stab somebody. But
right.
I mean,
But it drives me crazy, like in movies when they cut someone's throat and they die instantly. I'm like, no, it takes minutes.
Yeah.
To bleed to death.
Yeah.
Even from the carotid.
yeah, even with the me and my wife were watching Dexter recently, rewatching it, and first of all, terrible ending to a series ever. Okay,
Terrible.
did you watch Dexter?
No.
It's good until the very end, and you're just like, fucking really.
I feel
But-
like that's how all series go.
But there was one scene where he killed somebody, and the dude had stabbed him with a pen here. He then pulled it out and then stabbed him in the carotid artery right here, just one time with a pen in the perfect spot, and then he's just started bleeding and he died. Like, no, he didn't lose that much blood, man.
Well, he still had the other side supplying.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and it was a pen,
Yeah.
like a big pen.
Mm.
Like, that's not big enough to. You can stop it. It's a TV show.
You're not gonna
It's a
free
TV
bleed
show. Yeah,
that quick.
but he died pretty quick in that, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. And then when you stab people in the heart, you have to get through the bones of the ribs, unless you know where to place the knife sideways, which most people don't. And you kind of got to feel. You
Well,
can't just
and then,
look.
And then it really has to be the left ventricle for it to be quick. Because that's the
Of the heart.
ventricle of the heart that supplies the whole body.
Yeah.
And I mean, people get like wrong things go wrong during wrong things go bad things go wrong during heart caths all the time, where people will get like a dissection of their artery or perforation of their ventricle, and that's like getting stabbed.
Yeah.
They're fine.
What is that?
What?
What you just explained.
Perforation. So when they do a heart cath, they put what's like an IV, because you know an IV is like a plastic little straw that's in your vein. You know? So this one is like bigger. It's about the width of my pinky. It goes in your femoral artery. And then they use that as an access point to thread the wire up to your heart. And then they inject dye into your heart, and you're over like a C-arm, like a little mini CT X-ray thing.
Okay.
That they can light up on the X-ray what your arteries are doing, and you can see like the arteries around the heart should look like this, and if you have a blockage in one of them, it'll look like that.
Okay.
It'll be missing. And so then they know where they need to go to put in the stent, which looks like a Chinese finger trap to open up the artery.
I've seen.
And so that wire can do all sorts of squirrely things. If you have really weird anatomy, or if, I don't know, the doctor didn't sleep well enough, I don't know. Yeah. Things happen. And so sometimes the actual heart muscle will get perforated where it gets poked by the wire, which is rare. Really, but and then sometimes people's arteries are so brittle, they're literally just, and you have to put stent upon stent upon stent or rush into surgery. So the muscle doesn't die.
Is that what happens in people's legs when you can see the dead artery in their leg? Is it? Do you know what I'm talking about? Usually, it's in older people.
Like when they get a clot in their leg?
No, not a clot, but like you can, like say you're looking at somebody's leg, and then you can make out where there's a dead artery, like it's like dark blue.
Oh, those are varicose veins.
Okay.
That
Is that what you're talking about?
No,
Where
that's a response to the body having insufficient blood flow in the legs, usually due to like bad valves or bad circulation, and your body's response is to grow extra veins. So that's how you get those big ropey looking veins. Those are veins, which veins return blood to the body, and arteries rush blood to the area.
Why is it you can see them through their skin though?
Because they're superficial. I used to have some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're really close to the skin surface.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, what is that? Yeah,
I've
but those
I've
can
noticed them
bust.
before.
Yeah, those can bust because I had one that went up my thigh once when I was doing karate with work. We were doing these like knee things into a pad and I busted it and I got a big old hematoma on my thigh. Well, it hurt like
No, you hurt yourself a lot. You've always been prone to accidents.
all 5, me and my brother and sisters, are prone to accidents.
Well, I knew Laura was. She's
We
like,
all kind of have varying degrees of it, but yeah, we're all. My oldest brother had Aflac insurance for a little because they send you checks when you get injured, and he made good money.
yeah. Act like. Yeah, that was one of their big selling points. Was like, if you get injured, well,
So they really do send you a
we'll
check.
give you money. But I'm sure you pay for it.
Well, yeah, you're paying for
Your insurance.
yeah, you're paying for like the service and stuff, but then they really do send you a check. It's like that sucked. You broke your arm.
Here, have some money. Thanks.
It's what like my daughter, she fell and really broke her humerus in last March, and had to have pins put in, and it was crazy. And after everything was said and done with legit insurance, it was a $2,500 hospital bill.
That's ridiculous.
Isn't it? That would have been nice to have Aflac.
Yeah.
I wonder how much you get paid for breaking your arm and having to have surgery for it. She was so tough. They gave her ketamine to do the x-ray because it hurt too bad to move it, to get it in the right position to really see what was going on. And I don't know about if you know this, but ketamine is a horse tranquilizer.
I know what ketamine is.
Yeah, yeah. And they dose it for your weight. And they gave her the full dose for her weight. And she was still awake, alert, and oriented and screaming. And they're like, we've never had a kid be this awake with a full dose of ketamine. She should be completely out. And she, her pupils, like she had nystagmus. Her eyes were shaking. You could tell she was drugged.
Yeah.
But she was like, Lex, what are you doing? It was just like,
Maybe they dosed it wrong.
I was like, is her IV good? Maybe it's like seeping into her skin and not in her vein. But it was a good IV. So she's
Maybe she's just one of those
she's a
people.
wild
Like Rachel, it's typical for redheads.
Yeah.
Apparently, like drugs aren't as effective on them. They have a
Especially
higher pain
anesthesia.
tolerance. Like anesthesia doesn't work. Like I remember one time she had to have a tooth taken out, and the doctor could not numb her mouth. They're like, you're gonna have to go see an oral surgeon because we can't get it numb. Like it's just gonna hurt. I mean, it's just in her DNA. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
it's like a redhead thing.
Yeah, I wish they did more research on that. That's wild.
Yeah. They're just genetically different. Like the way they, like, even back when we used to trade shots of Jameson, like she could fucking drink anybody under the table. Like
Really?
that girl could drink. I don't know how or where the fucking alcohol went.
Yeah.
Like she was 120
Her
pounds. Like,
body was just like,
yeah, I mean,
you know what's interesting about alcohol though? If you drink it with a sugar-free soda, like a mixer, you get drunk faster because since there's no sugar in the mixer, the cell doesn't open up to metabolize it, so the alcohol just stays in good. But if you drink alcohol with a sugar, like juice or soda, one, your cell immediately opens up and starts metabolizing alcohol.
Huh.
So you can drink more. More,
alcohol facts. We've talked about murder, politics, alcohol facts.
Man, I think we covered everything.
We pretty much did. Like having this conversation with you. All right, it's 4:08. I'm gonna keep it from you too long. So, what you learned?
Today,
Just something else?
what have I learned like lately?
Sure. Whatever. Something.
Man.
What have you learned in you did it last time you were here? I asked you the same thing. I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I've
been asking everybody at the end of the podcast something they've learned. I think last time you had said,
I remember
What
I
you-
felt good about what I said. I just
you learned from your, I think you said you learned it from your dad to, shit.
to shit.
No, that wasn't it.
Usually what I say I learned from my dad was like your mind will often set the path your body will follow, and if you imagine it going well.
That's not what you said.
Oh, okay.
So you
That's
can leave-
usually what I
You can go with that one.
Okay, well I'll say that. It is a great thing that has carried me through a lot of hardships whenever I have faced them. Whether
Say it
it's
again real quick though, because I kind of interrupted you while you were saying it.
no, you're good. Well, I'm gonna get to it.
Okay.
Like I used this thought process whenever I was applying to nursing school, whenever I was about to push out my first baby and I was terrified, or whenever I was about to do my first jujitsu tournament. The first time my dad said it to me, I was really scared trying out for a softball team in 7th grade. And Dad, because it's human nature, we want to expect the worst, prepare for the worst. I was like, what if I mess up? What if I embarrass myself? What if I drop the ball? What if? And he was like, what if it goes amazing? He said, imagine it going amazing and then try. And so I've always just like imagined myself being successful and like really held on to that and then try. And like, whenever I was doing jujitsu and the guy said, just enforce your will onto them. I just kept imagining myself like making them do exactly what I wanted them to. And it worked the first 2 times.
It worked the first 2 times.
The first 2
Then they
matches.
caught on.
No, the 3rd match I was just tired because I had the flu and a sinus infection. I gassed out.
So at the beginning of that though, you said that imagine it going or
Your mind will set the path that your body will follow up
There you
to.
go.
Yeah, it's usually that, not that our bodies run out of strength or energy. It's our mind convinces itself it can't do it anymore. If we tell ourselves we can do it, we can.
that's why I want to do the ultra marathons.
Imagine yourself.
Because I want to
Keep
prove to
imagining
myself
yourself
that I
doing
can do it.
Yeah.
I visualize the end of the races all the time.
That's great.
Like when I'm out just running, training for whatever, like visualization is a great tool.
It is.
Like, and it brings up. So whenever I did my first major race when I turned 40, I did the Spartan Beast race, which is a half marathon with 33 obstacles. And I was not prepared for this race at all. I drove out to California, got there the night before, slept in a hotel, got up the next morning, did the race. After the race, slept for an hour and a half in the back of my car, and then drove home.
That's wild.
Yeah, but I did it for my 40th birthday because I guess I had to prove to myself that I could still do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the end of that race, like the feeling of completing it and knowing that I gave it my all throughout it, like it was such an amazing feeling. And like, so that's the feeling that I continue to chase throughout these years. And like what you just said about like, visualize it and then your body will just do it. Like,
Yeah, we can definitely limit ourselves. If we tell ourselves we can't, then you won't.
Yeah.
You can.
and a lot of the things, like this is one of the reasons I want to talk to your friend Julie, because a lot of the things that I've seen of people who do these races that I want to do, at certain point in time during the race, they're like, why the fuck am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I here? Like, they, every single one of them get to that point.
She works with a running coach, and a lot of it is just what you're talking to yourself about and setting different goals for different sections of the race, like different priorities and goals, and like just survive, and
Yeah.
like pick up the pace or whatever.
I like that you use that through your jiu-jitsu matches. I like that.
I'm gonna enforce it well.
And then you grab someone
And I'm gonna slam your face.
into the ground.
Samuels. Who's a good boy? We're done, Samuels. All right, everybody, have a good night. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.